Chapter 677, The Premature Deaths of Marine Race. Chapter 677, The Premature Deaths of Marine Race. Whoosh. At this moment, savage aura diffused into the sea below the spiritual energy waterfall and alerted the marine creatures in the surroundings who were cultivating. More than 500 members of the creepy snake group rode on sea snakes into the sea. Their eyes were locked on the densely populated sea creatures in the surroundings, but they did not make a move. Master. At this moment, the crowd of creepy snake group members greeted respectfully as Dashi entered into the sea while flicking his long tongue. Despite being in the sea, their voices weren't affected. There are so many marine creatures around. Dashi commented plainly. The eyes of the gray poison snake lit up a red light. It moved and charged towards the marine creatures around to devour them. When it opened its mouth, the seemingly average-sized mouth could surprisingly extend to 2 to 3 meters. Its mouth looked just like a bottomless pit. They have absorbed some spiritual energy. My baby is going to get a sumptuous meal. Dashi was pleasantly surprised as he looked across the densely packed marine creatures around him. Yes, master. Members of the creepy snake group made creepy smiles and patted the bodies of the sea snakes below them. The next moment, these snakes charged towards the surrounding marine creatures and started devouring them. They were terrifyingly quick. Not a single sea snake out of the hundreds was weaker than the inborn realm. And the martial artists that were on the sea snakes were similarly not any weaker than the inborn realm. Swish, swish, swish. The sea snakes attacked various marine creatures at a frenzied pace. This resulted in all the creatures in the region fleeing away in fear. At this very moment, Tang Yinxian, who was cultivating, was alarmed. She opened her eyes right away and looked in shock in the direction before her. Shit. Seeing countless marine creatures fleeing frantically, her expression changed drastically. Get out of here. Quick. She stood up and shouted at the surrounding dolphins right away. The pod of dolphins had also picked up the scent of blood as they wiggled their bodies frantically. Run. Tang Yinxian moved her fingers across the zither to make a rushed note that was transmitted to the dolphins. Each dolphin turned around immediately and fled in the opposite direction. Grr. However, she suddenly heard a scream and a sea snake appeared before them. A naked middle-aged man was sitting on the sea snake. Oh, there's a beautiful lady here too. Who would have expected a beautiful lady to be cultivating here? This pod of dolphins seems to be under your control. It's been a long time since I've met a beautiful lady. Moreover, it's a dolphin princess. Lust gleamed in the eyes of the middle-aged man. He extended his hand to touch the black liquid at the edge of the sea snake's mouth, licked his fingers and said, Hey pretty, come here. Shit. What is this? Seeing the middle-aged man riding the sea snake, Tang Yinxian was flabbergasted. She moved her arm, placed both of her hands on her zither and started playing. A water arrow shot towards the middle-aged man instantly. Don't even think of escaping. The middle-aged man showed his perverse excitement. Pulling both of his hands back, a snakeskin-like object covered his entire body. At the same time, 2 poisonous fangs appeared in his hand. The sea snake below him charged towards Tang Yinxian at a terrifying speed. Wong wong. Arg. At this moment, the dolphins around Tang Yinxian made a unified piercing sound which reverberated towards the middle-aged man and the sea snake as an attack. The next instant, a blood-curdling scream came from the middle-aged man. That sea snake was also shivering and remained stationary on its spot. What's happening? A nonchalant voice sounded and Tang Yinxian could sense 7 to 8 powerful existences charging towards her. Run. We've got to run quickly. Tang Yinxian was astonished. She turned around, placed her hands on the zither, and started playing and launching water waves to the 8 middle-aged and old men sitting on the sea snakes behind them. There's a beautiful girl on the dolphins. Catch them. Haha. When the members of the creepy snake group saw Tang Yinxian, they charged rapidly ahead as though they were sharks that had picked up the scent of blood. Inborn-level sea snakes were exceptionally fast and the dolphins couldn't be compared to them at all. GG. The next instant, 5 to 6 dolphins at the back were attacked by the sea snakes. Their bodies were bitten through in an instant as they fell to the seabed, vitality slipping out of their bodies. Scumbags. When Tang Yinxian saw a few dolphins being killed, she was infuriated. Water arrow after water arrow was launched towards them. However, the attacks from Tang Yinxian, who was just at the inborn realm, were easily avoided. Hey pretty, don't run anymore. A middle-aged man lowered his stance suddenly as he made a straight dash towards Tang Yinxian. Tang Yinxian was taken aback. Shifting her arm, she drew the long sword kept within the zither of Hao Zhong and slashed towards the middle-aged man. Bam! I got you, pretty. The middle-aged man withstood her attack with the two exceptional large poison fangs in his hands and revealed a sly smile. Tang Yinxian instantly felt pain from her belly. Lowering her head, she saw that the fangs of the sea snake had sunk into her. The next instant she felt her whole body going numb. Screech, screech, screech. What? Suddenly, the middle-aged man with a sly smile instantly felt as though 10,000 needles were penetrating his ears as his body went stiff. Bam! A pink dolphin that had stayed aside previously had now crashed heavily into his abdomen. Tang Yinxian took the opportunity to stab the spiritual sword in her hand into the body of that middle-aged man. After completing her action, she felt her whole body go numb as she slouched onto the dolphin below her. Wong wong. That pink bottlenose dolphin let out a shrill cry. Instantly, several dozen dolphins stopped and attacked the 7 members from the creepy snake group frantically. Kill. Kill all these dolphins. A middle-aged man growled in fury. Swish, swish, swish. A short distance away, other members of the creepy snake group rushed over immediately after picking up on the commotion. The marine creatures here seem to understand cultivation arts. Don't let even a single one escape. They would be greatly beneficial for our sea snakes. A deafening roar sounded in the sea. The crowd of creepy snake group members licked their lips and bloodthirst was evident on their faces. These dolphins are so intelligent. Die now. An old man swung the poison fang in his hand and easily killed 2 dolphins. Run now. Tang Yinxian struggled to grip her zither as she played a note. Screech, screech, screech. When a pink bottlenose dolphin saw its fellow dolphins being killed easily one after another, it turned around, opened its large mouth and let out a bone-chilling screech. Go. Little pink nose. When Tang Yinxian saw it stopping, she was flabbergasted as she struggled to scream. Woo woo. That pink bottlenose dolphin turned around and shook its head slightly at Tang Yinxian before opening its mouth slightly. Around it, over 100 other dolphins had stopped. The next moment, they charged towards the creepy snake group members as though they had lost their minds. Screech, screech, screech. Ear-piercing screeches reverberated as fresh red blood oozed out of their bodies. The fresh blood instantly dyed the water around them red. Tang Yinxian slouched on a dolphin with tears of blood flowing out from her eyes. Chapter 678, Assistance. Chapter 678, Assistance. Tang Yinxian was infuriated as she glared at the back. Hundreds of dolphins had depleted their energy when they released a daunting sonic attack. Their bodies collapsed right away. The dolphins had just started their cultivation, and they were not well versed in using their energy yet. Exploding domineering power like this was a suicide move. Darn, how did these dolphins turn into such wicked demons? An infuriated roar came from the back as the members of creepy snake group suffered massive injuries under the dolphins' attack. The sea snakes floated around motionlessly in the seas, as their brains were dead after being struck by the sonic waves. Kill those dolphins and seize that girl. Check out what secret she's hiding. An elder exclaimed as he gave chase immediately. Seeing the group of people on her heels, Tang Yinxian paled. She forced herself to sit up and strum chords. The sea waves helped to push the dolphins. Buzz. Beside her were Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins with glimmering eyes. They were propelling themselves as they emitted buzzing ripples. The surrounding dolphins used the skills which they had just cultivated and doubled their speed. Her? What amazing dolphins. But it's wishful thinking trying to escape. For members of creepy snake group sat on the sea snake 1,000 meters behind and exuded icy cold aura like poisonous snakes, giving chase from behind. Tang Yinxian had a slight change in her expression. As she strummed her zither, the spiritual energy in her body was quickly depleting. The toxin in her chest took over her body with numbness. Suddenly she felt heat embracing her and her vision was blurred. She could no longer hold herself as she collapsed on the dolphin. Her zither fell off, sinking slowly to the bottom of the sea. To think a pod of marine creatures tried to escape from our pursuit. A member of creepy snake group sped up as soon as he spotted the pod of dolphins and sneered. Trying to escape, huh? The 4 members of creepy snake group sat on the sea snake as it wavered its tail. A stream of water current gathered, and they sped up by 3 to 4 times. Hayak hayak, these dolphins are amazing. Their intelligence is so high that they learned how to cultivate by themselves. 4 members of Creepy Snake Group immediately popped up before the dolphins. As they rode on the sea snake, they swept their cold gazes at them. A bunch of animals. How dare you kill 2 of our members? Go to hell. An old man from Creepy Snake Group hopped down from the sea snake and raised the poison fangs in his hand. A terrifying vortex was formed, exploding all his Dan realm strength. The pod of dolphins exhibited a frightful look as they let out a despairing shriek. Die. The vortex in the hand of that elder grew to a size of 12 meters before he hurled it far ahead. Back. All creatures with wisdom are the citizens of Dragon Palace. Whoever kills them shall die. Suddenly, an enormous mustard palm descended, wiping out the vortex of 12 meters. Prime Minister Turtle clenched his fist, and that Dan realm expert was crushed into dust. What? The remaining 3 members of Creepy Snake Group changed their expressions drastically as a huge shadow emerged before them. The trio quickly spun around only to see a face that struck terror into them. Behind them, a horrifying monster of 80 meters encompassed them from above. The monster gave off gray energy that seemed to contain incomparable might around him. On that monster stood some people, amongst which was an eccentric old man with a turtle shell on his back. The 3 of them went into a trance with their minds going crazy. A scary monster of 80 meters and a turtle man with a shell? Boom. At this time, however, Prime Minister Turtle swung his arm again, and the enormous mustard palm slammed at the trio. The trio of Creepy Snake Group was killed immediately since they did not have any means to resist it. Buzz. Buzz. When the pod of dolphins saw Wang Xian and his gang, they sensed their aura and emitted sound waves. All of them developed intelligence and contained spiritual energy within their bodies. Wang Xian looked downward with radiance flashing in his eyes. Dragon King, these dolphins already developed intelligence and have proceeded to cultivate themselves, Prime Minister Turtle at the side said as he stared at the pod of dolphins. Buzz. Several pink bottlenose dolphins let out a shriek again, and a pod of dolphins swam over. The dolphin which was carrying Tang Yinxian also swam towards Wang Xian. Dragon King, save her. Save her. A weak voice was transmitted to Wang Xian. Such a cute dolphin. Xiao Yu watched the dolphins with interest on her face. Hey brother. There's someone on it? Wang Xian nodded his head and waved his arm. The girl that was on the back of the dolphin slowly floated towards him. After Wang Xian took Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest back to the Dragon Palace, he ordered all the members of the Dragon Palace to rush over here. Who knew they would meet someone hunting down a pod of dolphins on their way? It's a girl? Lan Qingyue and the girls looked over with puzzled looks. Her? When Wang Xian saw her face, he was stunned as he revealed a quizzical expression. Tang Yinxian. It turned out to be Tang Yinxian. What Xiao Xian? Do you know her? Seeing his surprised look, Lan Qingyue asked this with curiosity. Yes, I do. Wang Xian nodded his head and swung his arm to hold her body. She's beautiful. Elder Fang was stunned as she took a glance at Wang Xian. The rest of the girls, including Lan Qingyue, also looked at him with suggestive looks. Ahem, we just met a few times. Wang Xian's expression remained unchanged as he placed his hand on her. The Saintess of Heavenly Sound sect did not meet you just a few times. I remember you gifted her a zither too. Lan Qingyue stared at Tang Yinxian with glistening eyes, and no one was sure how Lan Qingyue had gotten her news. She got some snake and erotic venom in her. Sun Lingxiu commented plainly after some light from Sun Lingxiu fell upon Tang Yinxian. If we were not here, Xiao Xian would probably contribute his body as an antidote to this beauty, Ajaya said with a faint smile. What are they talking about? Wang Xian instilled dragon energy into her body, clearing all the toxins in her body rapidly. Cough. Tang Yinxian opened her eyes and felt nothing wrong with her body. Even her spiritual energy was restored. She was slightly stunned before she turned her head around. For a moment, Tang Yinxian was stupefied as she looked at Wang Xian with surprise. She regained consciousness and asked, "Why are you here?" Upon hearing what Tang Yinxian had said, Wang Xian felt several sharp gazes looking at him from the surroundings. Cough. Wang Xian cleared his throat and forced a smile onto his face. Yes, it's me. What a coincidence. I never expected to meet you here. Her? Tang Yinxian looked around with doubt and noticed Xiao Yu, Yinxian, Sun Lingxiu, Ajaya, and Elder Fang. When she looked farther, she froze. An old man was carrying a turtle shell, and a 2-meter devil monkey was exuding daunting aura. There was even a clam girl with a huge clamshell, a huge prawn that could stand, and tons of odd-looking, scary-looking marine creatures. Chapter 679, The Might of the Dragon Palace. Chapter 679, The Might of the Dragon Palace. This is... Tang Yinxian immediately took a look below her feet. That terrifying creature that was over 70 meters huge seemed to be swimming slowly ahead. However, it covered several thousand meters each second. On the back of this monster there was a group of terrifying creatures. From her perspective, the weakest would be the group of Dragonians whom she knew a little better. They are members of my dragon palace. Wang Xian turned to Tang Yinxian and remarked plainly, with no intention to hide it at all. The 9 cauldron worlds were about to descend upon the real world. When the timing was right, he would also reveal the Dragon Palace to the public by announcing their existence. Dragon Palace. Tang Yinxian was a little lost as she looked around her in disbelief. Woo-woo. At this moment she could hear the screeches of dolphins. She turned around, caressed the dolphin who had been carrying her and asked with a gentle voice, "Are you guys all right?" Woo-woo. A pink bottlenose dolphin rubbed its face against Tang Yinxian, shook its head and let out 2 screeches. "You are saying they killed over 100 of your companions?" When Wang Xian heard the pink bottlenose dolphin, his face darkened as he asked the dolphin this. Woo-woo. The pink bottlenose dolphin nodded its head and said, "Dragon King, those people are so cruel. Not only did they kill our companions, but they also slaughtered all the marine races around them. I'll take revenge for you." A light flickered in Wang Xian's eyes as ruthlessness flashed across his eyes. "You can understand them." Tang Yinxian was astonished as she stood by the side and saw Wang Xian conversing with the pink bottlenose dolphin. "You could say that they are my citizens." Wang Xian looked towards the dolphin and smiled. The pink bottlenose dolphin poked Tang Yinxian with its nose as it tried to talk to her. On stricter terms, these dolphins are the first batch of intelligent creatures within the region of our Dragon Palace. Moreover, from the sound waves that it emitted previously, they seem to have entered a rather unique path of cultivation. Prime Minister Turtle was observing the pod of dolphins while pondering about them. If there are intelligent species, we will impart knowledge to them. Even if they can't make it past the Dragon Gate eventually, we still have to guide and restrict them to some extent. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded its head. Since the Dragon Palace would be establishing its dynasty within the sea, it would naturally have its citizens. Ordinary marine creatures wouldn't be considered as their citizens. Only when marine races had their intelligence manifested would they be considered citizens. For marine races that had no intelligence, their deaths wouldn't be significant. However, for marine races that had intelligence, the Dragon Palace would have to step in if they were slaughtered rampantly. In the plans that Wang Xian and Prime Minister Turtle had, the Dragon Palace would only care about the dominance of the seas in the future. Marine creatures wouldn't step onto land and would be restricted from attacking humans. This would result in an isolated sea civilization. Just as the marine races were evolving rapidly, the spiritual energy waterfall would be the greatest encounter for them. However, the marine races were being slaughtered rampantly by humans currently. The Dragon Palace couldn't just ignore it. Not only would the Dragon Palace want to be involved, but they also wanted revenge for the marine races that had been slaughtered. Wang Xian looked ahead and asked Tang Yinxian, "Are there many martial artists under the spiritual energy waterfall?" "I don't know." When we are cultivating under the sea surface, a group of foreign martial artists dived into the water directly and started slaughtering the marine creatures around them. Tang Yinxian shook her head and sorrow filled her eyes. The deaths of over 100 dolphins had truly caused her heart to break. From her perspective, these dolphins were even more loyal than humans. In that case, let's just head there directly. Wang Xian didn't question it further. He stood upright while staring coldly towards his 12 o'clock. While standing on the kuan, his eyes flickered. In less than 2 minutes, the pungent scent of blood assailed his nostrils. Lots of marine races are dead. At least 1 billion of them. Although these marine races had no intelligence, they were rather gifted considering that they had arrived under the spiritual energy waterfall in advance. Prime Minister Turtle's face darkened upon picking up the scent of blood from the water. "It seems like they are pretty strong." Wang Xian squinted his eyes. A blue and red light flashed in his eyes as he observed his 12 o'clock vigilantly. Balls of energy appeared in his vision. Among them, Wang Xian saw an existence with an image resembling the vast sea within his body. That figure was seated and was absorbing the spiritual energy that had fallen into the sea at a frenzied pace. Immortal. There's an immortal realm existence right ahead. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked towards the mountain peak. It's not just one. There are a total of 3 of them. Dragon King, no matter how many immortals they have, we have to take revenge for the 100 citizens of ours that were killed. Prime Minister Turtle remarked coldly. Naturally. A faint sense of killing intent emanated from Wang Xian's body. Roving Heavens and Roving Sword stepped forward and stopped behind Wang Xian. On a huge koan, Wang Xian and the other 3 Immortal-class Dragon Palace members stood at the very front. Behind them was a group of powerful Dragon Palace members. The 1,000-strong group of Dragon Palace members was starting to exhibit their dominance. The might of the Dragon Palace was now vaguely visible. A terrifying aura shrouded forward. Below the spiritual energy waterfall, countless sea snakes and a middle-aged man sat on the peak of the underwater mountain. The founder of the creepy snake group sat on the peak of the center mountain and had a grayish poisonous snake wrapped around his neck. The poisoned snake rested its head on the old man's head while absorbing the spiritual energy that was falling from the sky. Wang. What horrifying aura! At this moment, Dashi jerked open his eyes abruptly. A blood-red light flashed across his eyes as he looked ahead. What terrifying aura! What's the situation? Could there be other immortal realm existences heading here? Around him, the crowd of creepy snake group members opened their eyes instantly as they looked ahead in shock. Boom. The moment they opened their eyes, they stood up immediately. Even Dashi got on his feet as he stared intensely at the ginormous creature approaching him. His gaze fell on the group of figures on the ginormous creature and was instantly astonished. However, the next moment he flicked his tongue out gradually and licked his lips. His eyes were filled with bloodlust. Over 70 meters. That's definitely the largest living creature on Earth. They are the ones. Tang Yinxian, who was standing by the side, was infuriated upon seeing the creepy snake group members. The pod of dolphins also screeched in anger. Rest assured, none of them is getting away today. Dragon King, leave this to my devil division. Roving Heavens patted his ear and a golden rod appeared in his hand. He lifted the golden rod up with a strong desire for battle as he remarked. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. He turned around to face Roving Sword and Prime Minister Turtle. Don't let them get away. Rest assured, Dragon King. After killing so many of our citizens, we would never let them escape from this place. Today, we will have the blood of an immortal for the memorial ceremony of our dead citizens of the Dragon Palace. The blood of an immortal for the memorial ceremony. Chapter 680. Chapter 680. Roar. In the sea, the 70-80-meter-long koan was floating quietly in the sea. Its 5 to 6 meter wide eyes were staring at the place in front of it, emitting a fierce light. On the koan, Ao Qitian stood in the front, followed by 800 demon monkeys. This group of demon monkeys only had the strength of the infant realm. They were holding level 12 spirit weapon sticks in their hands. Behind them, the group of demon monkeys stared at the front with blood-red eyes. Ao Qitian slowly raised the metal rod in his hand and roared loudly. Roar kill. A low roar filled with killing intent was heard. Blood boiled and demonic chi soared into the sky. The demon monkeys behind him attacked the group of Yin snakes in front of them at a terrifying speed. Ao Qitian carried the metal rod on his shoulder, but he didn't move. His gaze was fixed on the leader of the Yin snakes group, Big Snake, in the middle. An immortal-level existence. Who is that? Big Snake licked his tongue and his triangular eyes revealed a cold expression. There is actually an immortal-level existence. Where did this force come from? He stared at the devil monkey who was attacking them directly, and his gaze swept across the dolphins on the koan. Fighting with me, Big Snake, a beast? A trace of coldness flashed in the snake's eyes. It stared at Ao Qitian and growled in a low voice. Roar, I am Ao Qitian. When the demon monkey heard the snake's voice, his body slowly began to change. Layers of scales covered his entire body, and his fangs were exposed. I will tear you apart today. The demon monkey roared and moved, directly charging toward the snake. Roar. In an instant, the demon monkey's figure increased to 7 to 8 meters, and the cudgel in his hand smashed towards the huge snake. Beast? The huge snake waved its arm, and the gray poisonous snake on its neck turned into a dozen meters in size, and its huge mouth directly bit towards the demon monkey. Roar! Ao Chitian's cudgel directly smashed towards the huge gray snake. The gray snake twisted its body and wrapped itself around the cudgel, crawling towards Ao Chitian along the way. Ao Chitian's expression did not change when the gray snake's huge mouth bit towards his head. Roar! Ao Chitian suddenly had a burst. The devil chi on his body suddenly condensed into a black devil dragon, and a terrifying dragon's aura directly covered it. The gray snake's body trembled. Dragon's might. Ao Chitian, who had fully unleashed his dragon bloodline, could fully activate his divine dragon bloodline. In terms of combat strength, among those of the same level, perhaps only Ao Jian, who cultivated the Heartless Sword principle, could fight with him. Bang! Ao Chitian's large hand grabbed the giant gray snake and threw it ruthlessly toward the bottom of the sea. Boom! The terrifying power caused a huge wave to rise from the bottom of the sea. Be careful. At this moment, Xiao Yu, Tang Yinxian and the others who were watching from the Kuan saw the huge snake suddenly appear above Ao Chitian's head. The terrifying poisonous fangs attacked his head, and they warned him loudly. Humph! Ao Chitian's ears twitched, and with a cold shout, a tail that was more than 10 meters long swept towards the huge snake. Boom! The terrifying collision instantly caused the sea water within a radius of several kilometers to surge in all directions. What a terrifying battle! Tang Yinshuan's eyes widened, and a look of disbelief appeared on her face. The battle before her eyes was too terrifying. Each and every move had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Even the entire sea was surging wildly in the aftermath of their battle. Awe! In the surrounding area, the devil monkeys that were emitting monstrous demonic chi were like the devil monkeys in the chaotic world, tearing apart the members of the Yin snake group. The devil monkeys were considered relatively weak among the few races in the Dragon Palace. Their strength, which was at the lowest level of the Xiantian realm, was completely unleashed. It was simply not something that existences of the same level could withstand. With a body size of 3 to 4 meters, terrifying defense and powerful strength, they directly tore the members of the Yin snake group into pieces. Water-extinguishing cannonball, you guys deserve to die. Seeing the deaths of his subordinates, the big snake's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his arm, a 100-meter-long water cannonball directly attacked the surrounding demon monkeys. Your opponent is me. Today, I will use your blood to pay tribute to the water tribe that you have killed. Ao Chitian waved his arm, and the 100-meter-long devil chi directly dispersed the water cannonball. Then he waved the stick in his hand again. Damn beast! The snake stared at Ao Chitian with an embarrassed expression. The sea water within a few kilometers of him surged violently, and a sea python condensed from water energy gathered around him. Each sea python was several thousand meters in size, and they exuded a terrifying power. Roar! Ao Chitian stood at the bottom of the sea. The demonic dragon formed from demonic energy rose from his body, and it stared coldly at the giant snake above his head. Kill? The sea python that was several thousand meters in size charged at Ao Chitian, and the demonic dragon above Ao Chitian's head met it directly. The blue sea python collided with the black demonic dragon. Boom! The terrifying collision of energy instantly caused the mountain peak at the bottom of the sea to fall to one side. At this moment, on the island at the side, the island had a circumference of about 5 kilometers. On the island, 2 powerful top-tier forces were sitting cross-legged and cultivating. The old man with the red metal mask and the 2-headed woman instantly stood up when the terrifying energy came from below. There's an immortal god fighting. It's the big snake. That guy is fighting with another immortal god. It might be a powerful creature from the bottom of the sea. The big snake is really unlucky. It would be interesting if it died. The 2 people let out gloating smiles. Their bodies slowly floated in the air and looked down. Boom! However, at this moment, the entire island suddenly split open and sank to the bottom of the sea. Damn you, wasting our time. The 2-headed woman Yan Mei let out overlapping and sinister sounds. With a wave of her arm, the area where the island split open actually overlapped under the mighty force. The range of the battle between the 2 immortal gods is too large. All of you move aside. The old man in the red mask said in a deep voice to his subordinates. Boom! At this moment, a huge snake with blue energy all over its body rushed out of the sea. At the same time Ao Qitian, who was 7 to 8 meters in size, also came out of the water. You two, come and help me kill this beast. The huge snake looked at the old man with Yenmei's 2 heads and the red mask and growled in a low voice. Hee, why are we fighting? What does it have to do with us? The two of them smirked and hovered in the air, looking at each other mockingly. Hee, they're fighting. Don't worry, as long as we can get 1 or 2 immortal god-level corpses, we'll be lucky. If we both get injured, that'll be even better. Hee, the appearance of Yu Ding, the immortal god's corpse, is good news for us. In the air, 2 pairs of blood-red eyes stared downwards. Their eyes were filled with greed, excitement and bloodlust. Chapter 681. Chapter 681. Dragon King, this snake's strength should be close to that of a middle-level immortal. Ao Qitian alone cannot take it down. In the ocean, Prime Minister Gui watched Ao Qitian and the snake's battle and said with a twinkle in his eyes. Dragon King, I'll go. With Ao Qitian and I working together, we'll definitely be able to kill him. Ao Jian, who was standing at the side, pleaded to Wang Xian. Go. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly and looked at the top of the island. I hope the 2 immortals don't make a move. Otherwise. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Whoosh. At this moment Ao Jian, who was standing at the side, started to move. He stabbed the long sword in his hand at the huge snake that was a few thousand meters away. A terrifying metal sword that was 1,000 meters long seemed to pierce through the void as it attacked in an instant. Pooh! The snake that was fighting with Ao Qitian saw the terrifying metal light and its expression changed slightly. It waved its arm and the seawater below instantly condensed into a defensive water shield. However, when it was caught off guard, the terrifying sword light still made it spit out blood. Another immortal god-level existence. The snake spat out a mouthful of blood and its expression instantly darkened. Today I will use your blood as a sacrifice. Ao Jindi's figure appeared at Ao Qitian's side, and there was no expression on his face. 2 immortal gods, which faction are you from? The sea water behind the snake rose to a height of 100 meters, and it stood motionless behind him. It was ready to attack and defend at any time, and it looked at Ao Jian and Ao Qitian with a gloomy face. The force that will take your life. Ao Jian said coldly. The long sword in his hand trembled, and thousands of long swords silently attacked him from behind the snake. The snake's face changed drastically. A demon monkey had already made him feel a little troubled, and now there was an immortal god who was not weaker than the demon monkey. Since when were there so many immortal gods? The number of immortal gods in the entire subcontinent was less than 2 hands. We have no enmity. If you want to cultivate at the bottom of the sea, Snake, will let you have it. Snake waved his hands and his entire body was surrounded by the dark blue seawater, which was at least 100 meters thick. You killed more than 100 of my dolphins. Today I will take your immortal god's blood as a sacrifice. Golden metal swords appeared behind Ao Jian. The densely packed swords covered an area of 1,000 meters. What? Killed more than 100 of your dolphins? Hearing his words, the snake widened his eyes and growled with an embarrassed expression. More than 100 dolphins. That was only more than 100 fucking dolphins. You fucking want the life of an immortal god. Even though the snake had lived for over 200 years, this was the first time it had heard such a ridiculous thing. They wanted to go against an immortal god for the sake of over 100 dolphins. The red-masked elder and the Yenmei 2-headed woman who were watching the show were also slightly stunned. That's right, kill our people and die. Roar. 10,000 swords were launched. Ao Qitian roared. With a violent aura, he raised the metal rod in his hand and smashed it with demonic chi. The snake's expression changed drastically. With a wave of his hands he set up a 1,000-meter defense. A bunch of lunatics. I'm not playing with you anymore. The snake's expression changed drastically. It moved and was about to flee into the distance. Do you think you can escape? Ao Qitian roared and moved his body, leaving behind a terrifying wave trail. He stood in front of the snake and stared at him with his blood-red eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, a long sword silently stabbed toward the snake's chest. Pooh. Ah. Damn it. The snake's expression changed drastically. He lowered his head and looked at the hole in his chest that had been penetrated without warning. His expression was extremely gloomy. The flesh on his body squirmed and the wound quickly healed. The snake can't escape. If we don't act, the snake might die. The Yanmei two-headed woman and the red-masked old man looked at each other, and their eyes flickered. Snake, give me the 9-spirit snake gallbladder that you nurtured and I can save your life. The Yanmei two-headed woman's two heads looked at each other, and a cunning smile appeared on her face. I want all the territories of your snake group. The red-masked old man also said with a smile. Okay. The big snake's expression changed drastically. It gritted its teeth and nodded heavily. Haha, okay. The two of you, for our sake, let's forget about this matter. The red-masked old man revealed a smile. His aura shook and an overwhelming aura instantly erupted. In the sky, the clouds turned fiery red and contained terrifying flames. We have saved the life of the giant snake. So, if the 100 or so dolphins of yours are dead, so be it. The face of the Yanmei two-headed woman started to blur. The island that was on the verge of collapsing beneath them started to levitate. The island that was a few kilometers in size was controlled by her. An immortal-level powerhouse was really capable of destroying the world. As expected, he still made his move. In the ocean, Wang Xian, who was standing on the Kuan, heard the other two foreign immortals making their move. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Dragon King, let me exercise my body. Prime Minister Gue smiled and reached out to take the turtle shell off his back. The turtle shell was flickering with a yellowish glow. In that case, all three of you stay. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he moved his body. Roar. A dragon's roar came from Wang Xian's mouth. The dragon's roar exuded a terrifying majesty. The shell of the turtle in Prime Minister Gue's hand emitted a light as he attacked the two-headed woman directly. Boom, boom, boom. Standing in the sky, the red-masked elder and the Yanmei two-headed woman, who were emitting a terrifying aura, released their auras. They stared menacingly at Ao Jian and Ao Qitian. However, a power that terrified them came over and their expressions changed slightly. There are also immortals. 2 of them. Their expressions changed drastically. Madman, you only killed more than 100 of your dolphins and you actually sent out 4 immortals. What kind of force are you? The Yanmei two-headed woman let out a sharp roar and let out a sharp voice. Dragon Palace. Wang Xian rushed out of the water and opened his mouth. A deep blue water sword flew towards the red-masked elder. Buzz. At the same time, Prime Minister Gue's turtle shell emitted a strong earthy yellow light. The island that was suspended in the air for a radius of 5 kilometers collapsed immediately. The soil on the surface of the island attacked the Yanmei two-headed woman. You bunch of lunatics, get lost. The Yanmei two-headed woman's figure moved and she opened her 2 faces. With a wave of her arms, she directly scattered the island. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, terrifying fireballs directly fell from the fiery red clouds and met the azure water sword. My subordinates only killed over 100 of you dolphins. Don't go too far. The big snake saw a total of 4 gods. The face revealed a ferocious look, berserk roar. Chapter 682. Chapter 682. The giant snake went completely berserk, and the surrounding seawater rolled like a terrifying tsunami. If you want to kill me, I'll make you pay a heavy price. The giant snake's expression was ferocious. He stuck out his terrifying tongue, and when his tongue landed on the surface of the sea, it made a sizzling sound. He wanted to kill over 100 dolphins. This wasn't fucking killing your entire family, it was just over 100 dolphins. For the first time, he heard that he was going to fight an immortal god to the death for such a ridiculous reason. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian's eyes showed a hint of seriousness. The snake was going to fight with its life on the line. Once an immortal god was going to fight with his life on the line, even if they were not careful, they might die together. Die. Ao Qitian held the metal rod tightly in his hand and attacked ferociously. Ao Qitian, who was filled with demonic energy, did not care whether he was going to risk his life or not. Shadowless, shadowless. Ao Jian also shouted coldly. The air trembled as sharp swords that could not be seen or made any sound slashed towards the giant snake. We don't care about this matter anymore. Boom. In the sky, the old man wearing a red mask was emitting a fiery red light. In the sky above him, balls of fiery red clouds were hurling terrifying fireballs towards Wang Xian. A solemn look appeared in his eyes. Going against a terrifying force that had 4 celestials was definitely a terrifying thing. If he knew that they had 4 celestials, he would definitely not take advantage of them and help the snake. Right now they only wanted to escape as soon as possible. Since we are enemies, then we are enemies. The flesh and blood of 3 celestials. A hint of coldness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Since he had already made his move, he would not let go so easily. With the flesh and blood of the 3 immortals, if it was absorbed by the dragon pool, the energy contained in it might be able to allow a member of the dragon palace to advance to the immortal realm. Wang Xian's body trembled. The entire ocean instantly calmed down. It was as calm as a mirror. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, at this moment, countless water swords shot out from the ocean and attacked the red-masked old man in the sky. The collision of water and fire. Humph. The masked old man looked extremely embarrassed. With a wave of his hands, the entire 1,000-meter-wide fiery red cloud fell into the ocean. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying explosion was heard. The blue light and fiery red flames covered a radius of several thousand meters. I will remember what happened today. The old man moved his body and wanted to escape into the distance. Water prison. Wang Xian shouted softly and chased after the old man with the terrifying seawater. Don't go too far. When the old man saw Wang Xian chasing after him, his 10-meter-long body and his water-blue majestic face made him look extremely embarrassed. What was this terrifying monster? Was it a divine dragon from China? Roar! Wang Xian swung his dragon tail and his entire body glowed with a brilliant blue light. Below him, the sea water within a 10-kilometer radius rose into the air and completely enveloped the old man. Waterfall water blast wave. Flaming giant body. The masked old man looked extremely embarrassed. With a jolt of his body, he turned into a 50-meter-tall figure. The fiery red mask exuded a terrifying aura as drops of flaming liquid dripped towards his body. You forced me to do this. The terrifying flame giant turned the surrounding seawater into fog and spread over a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The water from the great waterfall clashed against the flame giant. At the side, walls appeared out of thin air to block the Yanmei two-headed woman. Prime Minister Gue held the turtle shell in his hand and stared at her with a wise gaze. Damn it, do you think you can keep us here? The two-headed woman stared at Prime Minister Gue with a sinister look. Her 2 heads were extremely ferocious. The terrifying battle between immortals and gods erupted in an instant. Wang Xian, how could he turn into a divine dragon? Tang Yinxian was standing on the kuan below. She raised her head in shock and looked at Wang Xian, who had turned into a divine dragon in the distance. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Bloodline? Lan Qingyue smiled at Tang Yinxian. Bloodline? Tang Yinxian muttered to himself. He recalled the records about the European continent. There were cultivators in the European continent who could transform into werewolves, bats, and demons. This was also a bloodline. Immortal God, immortal God. I didn't expect his current strength to be so terrifying and powerful. Tang Yinxian muttered as he scanned the surroundings. Lan Qingyue, Ajia, and Sun Lingxiu looked at each other and didn't say anything. Sun Lingxiu was the kind of girl who didn't like to interfere in anything. If Tang Yinxian really had anything to do with Wang Xian, she wouldn't mind. Ajia was an interloper to begin with, so she didn't have the right to express her opinion. Only Lan Qingyue sighed and pouted, then shook her head carelessly. 7 immortal gods attracted 7 immortal gods. That's a divine dragon, the legendary divine dragon. I didn't expect there to be a divine dragon in the ocean. That divine dragon's body is simply too perfect. If it could be refined into a slave, it would be the most perfect and powerful mount. Haha, that divine dragon, I must get it. 7 immortal gods. I didn't expect there to be so many immortal gods in the real world. We can only sit back and reap the benefits when both of them suffer heavy losses. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a match for so many immortal gods. No matter what, I'm definitely going to take that divine dragon as my mount. Aha, let's fight, let's fight. In the end, both sides suffer heavy losses. What a pleasant surprise. What a pleasant surprise. The 2 pairs of blood-red eyes in the air were filled with excitement and madness. They were watching the battle below. However, Wang Xian and the rest did not feel that someone was watching them. Damn monkey, get lost. At this moment, the giant snake let out a horrifying scream from below. He used both hands to block Ao Qitian's cudgel, but at this moment 5 soundless metal swords pierced through his body, causing his expression to change. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. He opened his huge mouth, and his tongue suddenly grew crazily, piercing through Ao Qitian's chest in an instant. Roar! Ao Qitian roared, grabbed his tongue and fiercely pulled it over. Ah! The snake screamed again. If you want me to die, you won't have it easy either. Burn the immortal god's blood and explode. The tongue in Ao Qitian's hand instantly turned red and exploded. Boom! The entire sea area exploded at the same time like 1,000,000 tons of bombs. Roar! Ao Qitian roared angrily, and his body was covered in wounds. Die! Ao Jian's expression changed, and he instantly turned into a golden swordfish that was about 10 meters long. Using his body as a sword, he directly slashed at the snake. However, at this moment the expression of the snake, who was far more miserable than Ao Qitian, changed drastically. Extremely cold, extremely hot, explode. He stretched out his 2 arms and fresh blood merged into the water energy, causing another terrifying explosion. Chapter 683. Chapter 683. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying explosion sounded, and the seawater was stirred up. The sky changed color. The blue light, the fiery red light, and the earthen yellow light made this area seem like hell on earth. Any living creature within a 7 to 8 kilometer radius would be affected by the terrifying shockwaves. The members of the Dragon Palace and Xiaoyu who were standing in the ocean were surrounded by a faint layer of gray energy. The most terrifying part of the Kuan was its defense. It relied on its terrifying physical body to travel the 9 heavens and hunt down the top bloodline existences in the world. Even though this Kuan had only been nurtured for a few months, it was already beginning to show its prowess. When the Kuan reached level 13, its strength would receive another terrifying increase. At that time it would even be comparable to Wang Xian. A level 13 Kuan could fly in the sky. At that time, a Kuan that was more than 100 meters long would definitely be the most terrifying creature on Earth. Ah! At this moment, a shrill sound was heard. Ao Jian's terrifying sword passed through. Half of the snake's body was split in half and fresh blood flowed into the sea uncontrollably. The bright red blood contained a powerful energy. On Ao Jian's tail there was a long wound. Roar! At this moment, a sky-shaking roar was heard. Ao Qitian, who was covered in blood, raised the metal rod and smashed it at the snake with terrifying power and demonic qi. Ao Qitian's attack became even more violent and fierce under the condition of being injured. As the metal rod smashed past, the snake's expression changed drastically. Its tongue grew out again, stirring the air above it to form a water-blue defense. The blue defense contained his blood, making the defense even more terrifying. Boom! As the metal rod smashed past, the blue defense quickly cracked. Stab! At this time Ao Jian attacked again. The entire 10-meter-long sword body was completely restrained in golden light. Not a single golden light was emitted. It was like a terrifying giant sword from ancient times. No! The snake widened its eyes and looked at the restrained golden sword in horror. Pooh! The long sword passed through and the snake's body was completely split into 2. Bang! Ao Qitian grabbed the upper half of the snake's body with his terrifying palm and squeezed it hard. A terrifying sound was heard once again. Kill the immortals and slaughter the gods. There are still 2 more. Ao Qitian let out a violent sound. Without any hesitation he attacked the flaming giant in front of Wang Xian. Ao Jian was still in the shape of a sword. It was like a sharp sword that did not require control as it slashed towards the 2-headed woman. You are seeking your own destruction. If you dare to fight with us, I will fight to the death to keep you alive. The red-masked elder's expression changed drastically when he saw Ao Qitian's attack. He roared furiously. Roar! What greeted him was Ao Qitian's terrifying metal rod and monstrous demonic aura. Roar! Wang Xian roared as well. His body circled in the water of the waterfall. Terrifying water dragons gathered around him and attacked the flaming giant directly. Damn it, you guys are courting death. The old man in the red mask had a gloomy look on his face. He was a little terrified. However, he was more furious. Streaks of blood patterns gradually appeared on the flaming red mask. Boom! The flames intensified once again. The terrifying arms swung towards Wang Xian. One in front and one behind. Wang Xian circled around the old man in the red mask and arrived behind him. His dragon head turned red immediately. He transformed into a flaming divine dragon. Roar! He opened his dragon mouth and bit towards the elder in the middle. Ah! The red-masked elder ignored Wang Xian completely. The violent flames smashed towards Ao Qitian directly. Ao Qitian, who was already severely injured, hurriedly dodged to the side. Go to hell. When the red-masked elder saw Ao Qitian dodging, he clawed with his arm. His arm, which was nearly 20 meters long, grabbed onto Wang Xian's body. Hee. In an instant, the flames on Wang Xian's body intensified as well. His dragon claw clawed at the center of his body. Ah! The old man in the red mask had a look of fear on his face. Why did a water-type monster suddenly turn into a fire-type monster? The dragon claw swung and broke his arm. If you want to kill me, I won't let you off easily either. Risk it all. The red-masked old man was completely risking his life now. After knowing that there was a high chance of him dying here, he completely disregarded it. If he risked his life, there was still a chance of escaping this place. If he didn't risk his life, he would definitely die. All the experts who could become immortals and deities had experienced thousands of battles of varying sizes. They had all fought their way out of the sea of blood. They did not lack courage and means. Even if they had to die, they had to be at the bottom. Qitian, you assist from the side. I will be the main attacker. Wang Xian reminded Ao Qitian. It was obvious that the red-masked elder wanted to risk his life for Ao Qitian. If Ao Qitian died again, he might die permanently. The revival of the soul returning was not unlimited. It had to meet various conditions. For example, Ao Qitian had just been revived. If he was killed again, even the soul returning would not be able to revive him. It's the Dragon King. Ao Qitian also realized this and did not focus on attacking. He stared at the flame giant with his eyes full of demonic flames. A bunch of lunatics, you bunch of lunatics. At this moment, Yanmei's two-headed shriek came from the side. Prime Minister Gue alone was equal to her. Now Ao Jian, who had terrifying attack power, came. In just a minute, wounds appeared on her body. Since we're going to die, let's die together. Yanmei's two-headed head emitted a deathly aura. Earthy yellow energy split out from the center of the two heads. Ah! Horrifying screams rang out as the two heads actually tore apart their own bodies. The earthen yellow earth energy formed the other half of their bodies. In an instant, they charged towards Ao Jian and Prime Minister Gue desperately. He's consuming his life force. Let's consume her to death. Prime Minister Gue waved his arm, and a huge earthen yellow cage directly trapped her inside. However, it did not even last a second before it was torn apart. However, Prime Minister Gue was not in a hurry. This move of hers had caused a lot of damage to his body, splitting his head and body in half. Even an immortal would not be able to hold on for long. The intense battle began. Even Wang Xian, who was facing the red-masked elder, had many bloody wounds on his body. A large amount of fresh blood spilled into the sea and pieces of dragon scales fell into the sea. However, in comparison, the old man in the red mask and the two-headed woman were even more miserable. I feel like my body is boiling and my blood is burning. Ah. Kiki, don't be careless. Don't be careless. We can only hold on for 1 minute with the Royal Heaven formation. We must kill them all within 1 minute. Otherwise we will miss our chance. Don't worry. I only want the divine dragon. Then leave the rest to me. A cold voice sounded from another dimension. Chapter 684. Chapter 684. Boom boom boom. The entire ocean went berserk. A battle between immortals and gods. Each move contained a terrifying energy that could destroy the world. Especially two immortals who were fighting with their lives on the line. Raging flame hibernation. The 50-meter-tall flame giant was now only about 40 meters long. The red-masked old man in the middle was filled with malevolence and killing intent. Both of his hands slammed heavily into the void. His arms were decreasing at a terrifying speed. The flames in his body were burning, causing the flames within a radius of 7 to 8 kilometers to burn. Boom, boom, boom. The flames exploded in the air. Wang Xian had a serious look on his face. He clawed at the fire giant's chest with his dragon claws. The flames couldn't cause much damage to it. However, at the same time, the masked old man had protected his body well after being injured once. The terrifying flames made Ao Qitian afraid to get close to him. The terrifying attack that was unleashed by burning his own life force would cause Ao Qitian's body to suffer a terrifying attack the moment he entered. Ao Qitian was standing on top of the fire giant. He was prepared to deal a fatal blow at any time. If you want to kill me, one of you will definitely die with us. A tragic look appeared on the masked elder's face. You won't be able to last until all the flames in my body are completely burned. Wang Xian waved his dragon claws expressionlessly and attacked the flaming giant once again. At the same time, the flames of both parties weren't able to cause much damage to each other. The only thing they could do was to compare the strength of their physical bodies. After all, the flames of the flaming giant were condensed from energy. On the other hand, Wang Xian's physical body was the body of a divine dragon. His powerful physical body grabbed directly at the flaming giant. Boom! The fire giant raised his terrifying arm and smashed it forward. His arm was even larger than Wang Xian's entire body. With a single strike, a large area of flames on his arm dissipated. However, Wang Xian's body was also sent flying for a few thousand meters. I don't know how long this fellow has been in the immortal realm. Be it his attack techniques or the use of flames, he is simply too powerful. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of Wang Xian's mouth. However, you still have to die. A hint of coldness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. In the universe, there were less than 3 people who could rival the physical body of the divine dragon. Even if he was injured from the impact, he would be able to recover very quickly if he wanted to. Crack, 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 crack. Wang Xian raised his right claw, which was covered by the thick fire liquid. The entire dragon claw turned into 7 to 8 meters in size and charged at the fire giant again. Take this. At the same time, the demonic aura around Ao Qitian condensed into a solid form to surround the surroundings for defense. He brandished the metal rod in his hand and smashed it directly at the flaming giant. Boom! Another terrifying collision of flesh and flesh. At this moment, the sun had already set. The flames illuminated a radius of dozens of kilometers like the sun. Haha, if you want to kill me, one of you will have to die. After a wave of impact, the masked elder's face turned slightly pale as he roared ferociously. Ah! No, no! However, at this moment, a scream suddenly came from the side. A golden light flashed past, passing through the body of the Yanmei two-headed woman. On the other side, a 10-meter large turtle shell ruthlessly smashed into the body of the other two-headed woman. Although spreading your body apart can unleash more powerful attacks, your defense is much weaker. The Earth attribute is best at defense. You give up your advantage and accelerate your death. Prime Minister Gui's voice was heard. The 10-meter-long turtle shell was emitting earthy yellow energy and had a terrifying suction force. On top of the turtle shell, sharp earth thorns were attacking non-stop. We have no grudges with each other. Why do you want to kill us with your life? A head whose body had been chopped off shouted with a face full of unwillingness. We have no grudges with each other. But why do you want to prevent us from taking revenge? Do you think we are easy to bully? Prime Minister Gui's eyes flickered. He waved his arm and the turtle shell emitted mountains, rivers and trees, which pressed down on them. Boom! The turtle shell pressed down on these two bodies. They fell directly into the ocean and gave off a loud boom when they landed on the seabed. There's still one more. Prime Minister Gui looked at the flaming giant. Ao Jian pointed the tip of his sword at it. Kill? Wang Xian shouted coldly. The golden sword was a terrifying mountain peak that condensed into yellow soil in the void. It was a rod that emitted demonic aura. Kill, kill, kill. I want to kill all of you. When the red-masked elder saw Ao Jian and Prime Minister Gui killing the two-headed woman, a hint of despair and madness flashed in his eyes. He roared loudly and the flames on his body instantly turned the area within 10 kilometers into a flaming domain. However, Wang Xian and the rest did not retreat. 4 celestials were attacking one at a time. Furthermore, each of them was in a situation where they were evenly matched. They were completely crushed. Boom! Wang Xian, Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and Prime Minister Gui's attacks arrived. Flames splashed out in all directions. Tens of thousands of tons of seawater evaporated instantly and turned into mist. Following that, it condensed into clouds in the sky and the rainstorm fell instantly. The entire process did not take more than a minute. The flame giant collapsed. The red-clothed masked elder in the middle could not help but spit out blood. His eyes were dim. Roar! A metal rod with demonic flames smashed into his body. His body fell to the bottom of the sea. Phew. Wang Xian took a deep breath. He felt exhausted all over. This battle lasted for a total of about half an hour. It's really hard to kill someone whose strength has reached the level of an immortal god. It takes a lot of strength to attack two people of the same level. I even have to guard against being killed together. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he reverted back to his human form. His entire body was covered in wounds. Each of the wounds was extremely grievous. If he were to use his dragon energy to deplete it, it would be at least a few million dragon energy. Apart from the injuries on his body, he was also extremely exhausted. Beside him, Ao Qiqian was also panting heavily. The blood on his body had already covered his entire body. Most of the blood was his own. The only one who was not injured was Prime Minister Gue. The powerful Earth attribute defense and the Earth turtle shell on his back made his defense almost invincible. However, Prime Minister Gue had expended too much energy. The earthy yellow glow on the turtle shell was extremely dim. Xiao Xian, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the others hurriedly flew towards Wang Xian. Tang Yinxian, who was standing on the kuan, hesitated for a moment before following them. She stood on top of a pink-nosed dolphin and followed behind. Wang Xian had saved her life, causing Tang Yinxian to feel extremely complicated. She had a good impression of him when he gave her the zither. Later on she admired the Dragon King. Later on the Heavenly Note sect was destroyed. Then she was saved by him today. Woo woo. At this moment, Tang Yinxian suddenly felt a throbbing and panic coming from the pink-nosed dolphin beneath her. She had felt this feeling not long ago when they were being hunted. Crisis. Chapter 685. Chapter 685. Unnatural torrential rain fell from the sky. Every raindrop was the size of a bean. Within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, it was a completely different world from the outside world. The throbbing and panic from the pink-nosed dolphin gave Tang Yinxian a bad premonition. Sometimes a woman's sixth sense was very terrifying. Woo woo. The pink-nosed dolphin beneath her once again let out a panicked sound. Tang Yinxian frowned as she scanned her surroundings. Heavy rain. Other than heavy rain, it was still heavy rain. Tang Yinxian lifted her head with a blessed expression and looked towards the sky. In front of her, a waterfall of spiritual energy descended from the sky, making this place seem like a fairyland. Tang Yinxian frowned as the crisis in her heart intensified. The pink-nosed dolphin brought her to Wang Xian's side. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, and the others were treating Wang Xian's injuries as they asked with concern. Everything seemed to be normal. However, the pink-nosed dolphin's throbbing was accompanied by a bad premonition in her heart. At this moment, she suddenly saw two pairs of blood-red eyes appearing in the sky. Following that, two blood-red ferocious faces appeared in the void. The ferocious faces opened their mouths, and a terrifying black energy was brewing in their mouths. Two balls of terrifying energy were aimed at Wang Xian and Prime Minister Gue. Tang Yinxuan's expression changed drastically. Be careful. A look of horror appeared on her face. She moved to the side of Wang Xian, and a water energy shield appeared in the sky. Ha! Tang Yinxuan's sudden cry stunned Wang Xian and the rest for a moment. Following that, a terrifying energy that made their hearts palpitate attacked them. Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. Heavenly voice Wuji, use your body as a zither. At this moment, he saw Tang Yinxian who was beside him as if she had transformed into a zither. She was putting up a defense above him. Wang Xian waved his arm. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, in the void, that black energy was like an aurora. In an instant, it passed through Tang Yinxuan's body and directly penetrated half of Wang Xian's body. He didn't even put up a defense. Boom! At the side, the moment Tang Yinxian reminded him, Prime Minister Gue, who had raised the turtle shell in his hand, widened his eyes. His body fell to the bottom of the sea at a terrifying speed. Fresh blood was spat out. Xiao Xian. Brother Tang Yinxian. Lan Qingyue, Xiao Yu, and the other girls exclaimed from the side. Damn it, damn that girl. If not for her reminder, we would have killed the two of them. It doesn't matter. The two of them are already heavily injured. There are only two left. 1 minute. Let's end this quickly. At this moment, a shattering sound came from the void. Two figures came from inside. One of them was wearing a blood-red robe. His lips were blood red and his eyes were also red. He was a demonic middle-aged man. The other one was pitch black. He had a pair of snow-white arms and his eyes were also blood-red. The two of them seemed to have walked out of a sea of blood, and their bodies were exuding a terrifying blood chi. At the same time, a shocking aura was emitted from their bodies. This was definitely not a strength that a lower immortal could unleash. Roar, you deserve to die. On the side, Ao Qitian saw that half of the Dragon King's body had been directly penetrated and instantly became furious. His body had actually grown to a terrifying size of about 13 meters. He held the metal rod in his hand and violently attacked the two people in the sky. You two die. Ao Jian's body was extremely cold. He directly transformed into the body of a golden swordfish. With the sword, a golden light flashed and carried the soundless sword as he directly attacked. If you are not injured, you can still spar with us. Now. The black-clothed demonic youth's snow-white arm instantly turned pitch black. Black energy that was like an aurora instantly attacked Ao Jian. At the side, a long spear appeared in the hands of the blood-red-clothed demonic middle-aged man. The long spear was extremely blood-red. Buzz. The terrifying long spear attacked Ao Qitian. Sensing the terrifying power above, Ao Qitian and Ao Jian's expressions changed drastically. Their current strength was already less than half of their peak. Now that they had encountered two existences that were even stronger than them, they were no match for them. Ao Qitian's blood-red eyes could only passively defend as he smashed heavily towards the spear. Boom. Pa. The terrifying blood-red spear collided with Ao Qitian's metal rod and actually instantly broke it. This caused Ao Qitian's expression to change drastically. The metal rod was something he had once obtained in the ocean. It was extremely hard and was a grade 13 material. It could completely be used to create a grade 13 spirit tool, a spirit tool used by immortals and deities. Although this metal rod was only a body in Ao Qitian's hands, it was stronger and more solid than a grade 12 spirit tool. However, today, under the attack of the long spear, it actually directly broke. Ao Qitian's palm cracked and blood gushed out wildly. His body also fell into the sea at a terrifying speed. Boom. On the side, a dense black light and the dazzling gold collided. The two waves of energy were in a stalemate in the void, as if the world had been divided into two. What a terrifying sword principle. However, The demonic middle-aged man in blood-red clothes saw Ao Jian blocking his attack, and his arm shook. A blood-red bow appeared in his hand. He pulled at the void and said, "Ghost-devouring arrow." Whoosh. A ferocious demon shot out from the blood-red bow and instantly landed on Ao Jian's body. Boom. The terrifying force caused Ao Jian's blood to splatter in all directions as he fell into the sea. Kiki, 7 immortal-level corpses. This is great, this is simply great. Haha, that divine dragon general is my mount. The blood-red glow in the eyes of the middle-aged man in black was abnormally demonic. He laughed out loud and directly grabbed at Wang Xian. The blood-red middle-aged man was also filled with excitement as he dived downwards. He flew towards the place where Prime Minister Gue had fallen. Xiao Xian. Wang Xian heard the voices of Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue and the others. He was slightly dazed and his entire body was abnormally weak. This was the last time he was injured. It was even a threat to his life. He saw Ao Qitian and Ao Jian being severely injured in the ocean. Wang Xian turned his head and saw that Tang Yinxian, who had been penetrated by the black energy, was almost dead. His heart ached slightly. His gaze swept past Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue and the other girls at the side. A hint of blood flashed in his eyes. Wait for my resurrection. He growled and raised his head to look at the two demonic middle-aged men in the sky. Roar, you deserve to die. Wang Xian instantly transformed into the body of the 5 elements divine dragon. Although he was now in an extremely dilapidated state, there was an additional bloodlust and fierceness. The 5-colored radiance on Wang Xian's body intensified. A resplendent green sword that was 100 meters long appeared in the void. The sword was extremely green. The moment the green sword appeared, the middle part of Wang Xian's body dissipated. Only the dragon bones were connected. Chapter 686. Chapter 686. Wang Xian's body trembled again. His dragon whiskers collapsed and dissipated. His dragon head had almost turned into a skull. The terrifying flames landed directly on the emerald green longsword. The longsword was emitting a brilliant glow. In an instant, the emerald green longsword turned into a flaming longsword. Wood makes fire. Bus. Wang Xian took another while. The dragon scales on his body dissipated immediately. An earthy yellow energy covered the flaming longsword directly. Fire generates earth. Bus. The dragon claws disappeared quickly. The rich gold landed on the earth sword. Earth generates gold. Bus. Finally, Wang Xian's tail turned into an azure blue light and entered the golden sword directly. Gold generates water. It was a water sword, an azure blue water sword. The water sword was still about 100 meters long. However, this azure blue radiance seemed to carry the entire ocean. It was as though the entire space had this azure blue long sword as the center of the world. It was as though there was only this resplendent azure blue water sword in the entire world. The extreme blue flashed past. Not good. Wood begets fire, fire begets earth, earth begets gold, and gold begets water. The 5 attributes were mutually reinforcing. When Wang Xian used all the dragon qi in his body to unleash his attacks, he would be able to use all the dragon qi in his body. Under the circumstance of mutually reinforcing, he would be able to obtain a terrifying upgrade. Whoosh, whoosh. The terrifying blue long sword pointed at the starry sky and disappeared into the horizon. Ah! Damn it! 2 agonizing screams were heard. In the sky, the 2 demonic middle-aged men were cut in half by the lazy waste. They stuck the 2 halves of their bodies together in horror. Both of their faces were filled with fear. Damn it, damn the divine dragon. The demonic middle-aged man in black clothes let out a ferocious roar. Xiao Xian. Brother. From below, the miserable cries of Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the others could be heard. Seeing Wang Xian's miserable state, tears instantly flowed out of his eyes. Dragon King. The furious roars of the members of the Dragon Palace could be heard from the surroundings. Ao Qitian, Ao Jian, and Prime Minister Gui came out of the sea. They stared at the 2 people in the sky with blood-red eyes and attacked them without any hesitation. Damn girls, damn divine dragons. The 2 demonic middle-aged men roared indignantly when they saw Ao Qitian and Prime Minister Gui attacking them. Just you wait. Just you wait. When the Yu Ding appears, we will take your bodies and make you our slaves. The 2 demonic middle-aged men roared ferociously. Their bodies moved and entered the crack in the void. Just you wait for me. We will take your corpses very soon. The fearful roars came from another world. Wang Xian only had a sliver of life left in his dragon bone body. He stared coldly at the void and said, "Very soon I will look for you. Very soon I will look for you." Crack, crack, crack. The void fissure closed. Roar. Ao Qitian looked ahead and revealed a furious expression. His terrifying claws clawed at the void. The void fissure appeared again. Qitian, stop. Let's see the Dragon King first. Prime Minister Gui shouted at Ao Qitian with a pale face. Roar, roar, roar. Ao Qitian thumped his chest and looked at their Dragon King. Bang. Xiao Xian. Brother. Wang Xian's body fell into the sea. He was only left with his bones and had lost all signs of life. Lan Qingyue and the rest flew over and caught Wang Xian's huge dragon bones. Their faces were filled with tears. Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui and the rest of the members of the Dragon Palace also had a drastic change in expression. Buzz. Prime Minister Gui waved his arm and a 5-colored origin stone appeared in his hand. 3 dragon balls slowly flew out from Wang Xian's body. Return to the Dragon Palace immediately. The Dragon King can still be resurrected. Prime Minister Gui quickly said. Yes, yes. The soul returning wood. With the soul returning wood, little immortal can still be resurrected. Lan Qingyue and the rest quickly came to their senses. They wiped the tears from their faces and said anxiously. Woo 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 woo. However, sorrowful sounds came from the side. Ao Qitian was hugging Wang Xian's dragon bone. They turned around and saw 200 to 300 dolphins gathered around. In the middle, Tang Yinshuan's body was being lifted up. Streams of sound waves entered Tang Yinshuan's chest. There was a hole the size of a bowl. The terrifying black energy instantly penetrated her chest, and a large piece of her flesh disappeared. Tang Yinshuan was only at the Xiantian level. Such a terrifying injury was enough to kill her instantly. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, The 4 pink-nosed dolphins surrounding Tang Yinshan suddenly emitted a special sound wave. The 4 pink-nosed dolphins were emitting a pink light, which gradually entered Tang Yinshuan's body. The pink color on the 4 pink-nosed dolphins slowly disappeared and turned into the same color as the ordinary dolphins. Ha! Prime Minister Gue revealed a surprised expression. Bring this lady and these dolphins. Dragon Queen, we have to rush back immediately. Yes, we have to go back immediately and take the 3 immortal gods' bodies with us. Lan Qingyue and the others nodded quickly. Occupy this place. Prime Minister Gue ordered Ao Yeka of the Dragon Protection Department. The others did not ride on the Kuan. Instead, Prime Minister Gue brought them to the Dragon Palace with the power of the immortal gods. In less than 5 minutes, they arrived at the Dragon Palace. Put the Dragon King's dragon bone into the dragon pool. Prime Minister Gue said to Ao Qitian immediately. Yes. Ao Qitian held the dragon bone and put it into the dragon pool. At this moment there was not much dragon blood in the dragon pool. The revival of the group of draconids and the golden swordfish clan had consumed a lot of dragon blood. The dragon blood in the dragon pool did not support the revival of Wang Xian at all. Throw the corpses of the 3 immortals into the dragon pool. Prime Minister Gue stood beside the dragon pool and said with a solemn face. Yes. The corpses of the snake-masked elder and the 2-headed woman were placed beside the dragon pool. Walala. The corpses of the 3 immortals were slowly absorbed by the dragon pool. Golden dragon blood that emitted a terrifying energy flowed out from the mouths of the 9 divine dragon pillars. Prime Minister Gue waved his arm and threw the 5 elements origin stone into the dragon pool. Buzz buzz buzz. At the dragon throne, the soul returning wood emitted a gray light as a dragon-shaped soul fruit slowly condensed. Prime Minister Gue, can the little immortal be resurrected like this? Lan Qingyue and the other girls stood at the side and did not dare to disturb him. When they saw that the arrangement was done, they asked anxiously. Dragon Queen, as long as we have enough energy, the Dragon King can be resurrected. It's us who failed to protect the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue said as he knelt down in front of Lan Qingyue and the others. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian also knelt down. With the soul returning wood, the Dragon King can be resurrected. However, the Dragon King has condensed thousands of dragon chi. It will take a lot of energy to resurrect him. I wonder if the energy of the 3 immortals can resurrect the Dragon King. Also, I don't know how long it will take for the Dragon King to be resurrected. We need to gather energy for the Dragon King now. Chapter 687. Chapter 687. Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, Ajia and Elder Fan were extremely anxious, but they had no other way. Coming back from the dead was a very heaven-defying matter. If Wang Xian didn't have the ancestral tree and the 2 heaven-defying treasures, the soul returning wood, coming back from the dead was simply a legend. They could only ask Prime Minister Gue anxiously and wait. The soul returning wood has already grown the soul of the Dragon King. What we need now is the dragon blood and the energy of the 3 immortals. Prime Minister Gui's eyes sparkled. He turned to Ao Jian and Ao Qitian and said, let's recuperate for a while. We will go to the chaotic sea area later and hunt down the Devilfish King. Okay. Ao Qitian and Ao Jian nodded, and their eyes were cold. Should we go to other unknown sea areas and kill immortal level creatures? Look again. The Dragon King's dragon bone hasn't disappeared, and the 5 elements origin hasn't either. The energy of 4 immortal level creatures should be about the same. Prime Minister Gue looked hesitant. If it doesn't work, we'll take the risk and kill other immortal level creatures. Prime Minister Gue, if we have enough energy, how long will it take for my brother to be resurrected? Xiao Yu asked while pulling Prime Minister Gui's arm. Grand Princess, if we have enough energy, it will take at most a month to be resurrected. Prime Minister Jiui slowly stood up. Dragon Queen, Grand Princess, I need to make some preparations first. You go, Prime Minister Gue. Lan Qingyue and the others quickly said. Brother. Xiao Yu looked at the dragon pool and could not help but cry again. Xiao Yu, don't cry. At that time, Xiao Xian had already considered that she would die and that she could be resurrected, so we don't have to worry. A few girls stood by the dragon pool with slightly red eyes and waited quietly. Prime Minister Gue came to the dragon field of the Dragon Palace and looked at the dolphins and Tang Yinshan who were floating in the air. The pink light surrounded the dolphins, which was quite unbelievable. After the dolphins learned how to cultivate, they seemed to have awakened a very special energy. After the girl's body was pierced through and her life force dissipated, she was surrounded by a sound wave. It's completely opposite to the effects of the soul-returning wood. The soul-returning wood absorbs and protects. This pink energy contains a powerful life force. Perhaps, under the treatment of these dolphins, she can be resurrected. Prime Minister Gue stood there and looked, his face full of surprise. This group of dolphins had easily jumped over the dragon gate and even brought Tang Yinshan in. He was somewhat shocked. The rest of the aquatic species that leaped over the dragon gate were all desperately charging towards the dragon palace. However, they were very easy to do. In the future, this group of dolphins might even be a powerful subordinate of the dragon palace. Prime Minister Gue moved his body and entered the dragon cave to recuperate from his injuries. Are they dead? Should I wait for resurrection? Wang Xian felt his consciousness gathering in a hazy manner. When he realized that he had appeared on the soul-returning wood on the dragon throne, he heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he had expected, the soul-returning wood was extremely powerful. Wang Xian had no choice but to exhaust his body and fight with the two demonic middle-aged men. If he had not used up all his energy to launch the strongest attack and repel the two men, they would have been truly finished. With the terrifying strength of the two demonic middle-aged men, they would definitely be annihilated in their original state. By then, after all the experts of the Dragon Palace had died, he wouldn't be able to resurrect even if he wanted to. At that time, the strongest attack that he had unleashed was the best choice. People from the Yuding world, just you wait. Endless killing intent surged in Wang Xian's heart. As long as I resurrect, even if you don't appear in the world, I will enter your world and turn the sky and earth upside down. And Tang Yinshan. Wang Xian was stunned. When he recalled how Tang Yinshan used her strongest defense to block the black energy back then, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. If she had not reminded him back then and did not face the black light, he was afraid that the attack would have already killed him and Prime Minister Gue. The consequences of his and Prime Minister Gue's death would also mean the destruction of the Dragon Palace. I will avenge you. Wang Xian mumbled. He looked around and could sense a radius of 10 meters around him. He couldn't sense anything further away. Shu Qing. Wang Xian looked towards the dragon throne and revealed a smile. At this moment, Wang Xian revealed a surprised expression. In his soul state he could see Guan Shuqing's body and her soul. However, what surprised Wang Xian was that there were two gray dots of light in Guan Shuqing's body. Both dots of light were extremely dim. Does everyone's soul have two dots of light? Shuqing's vitality is already very strong, but she didn't wake up. Could it be related to these dim dots of light? Could it be that the strength of the soul is too weak and couldn't support this strong body, so she couldn't wake up? Wang Xian was bewildered. He didn't expect that he would discover the reason why Shu Qing couldn't wake up. Time passed slowly. The next day, Prime Minister Gue and Ao Jian and Ao Qitian walked out of the Dragon Palace. Half a day later, they brought over the body of the Devil Fish King. In the dragon pool, after the 10-meter-long dragon bone absorbed the dragon cave in the dragon pool, flesh and blood began to grow. At this speed, the Dragon King's body will be fully recovered in half a month. Prime Minister Gue stood beside the dragon pool and said thoughtfully, "Is there enough energy?" Sun Lingxiu frowned and asked Prime Minister Gue. "I'm not sure." Prime Minister Gue shook his head slowly and suddenly had an idea. "Dragon Queen, I'm going to get something." As he spoke, he moved and arrived at a cave on the surrounding mountains. The jellyfish corpses that were emitting crystal light were piled inside. They were immortal jellyfish, level 11 immortal jellyfish. Their bodies were immortal matter, a very precious thing. All creatures want to evolve towards immortality, and the divine dragon will eventually go in that direction. This immortal matter is an enormous energy. Back then, the Dragon King was prepared to use it to create an immortal jellyfish race, but now it seems that there's no need. The eternal material dragon pool can't absorb it, but it can use endless wood to completely melt it. The endless wood was a different type of eternal tree. It had endless flames that would never be extinguished, and it was similar to the eternal material. The level of the endless wood was obviously higher than the eternal jellyfish, so it should be able to melt it. If the eternal material was used to condense the Dragon King's body, it could make the Dragon King's strength and recovery power a terrifying increase. Chapter 688. Chapter 688. Ha. Just as Wang Xian was immersed in his own world, he sensed the arrival of Prime Minister Gue and looked over curiously. Pa. When he came to the bottom of the dragon throne, Prime Minister Gue saw the soul fruit of Wang Xian and knelt down on the ground. He bowed and placed the body of the eternal jellyfish under the eternal wood. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The flames emitted by the endless wood were not that terrifying. When held in one's hand, there would only be a kind of heat. It would not cause much harm to the person. However, when the body of the eternal jellyfish was placed under the wood, the sound of burning could be heard. Prime Minister Gue moved his arm and a huge earthy yellow bowl appeared in his hand. He then placed the immortal substance into the bowl. Each immortal jellyfish had a body size of dozens of meters. All the immortal jellyfish had melted about 2 to 3 tons of liquid. The liquid emitted a milky white glow and contained a special energy. As expected, the indestructible immortal substance will be burned under the endless wood. A gleam flashed across Prime Minister Gue's eyes. After melting all the immortal jellyfish, he bowed to Wang Xian's soul fruit once again. Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Gue with a satisfied expression on his face. Once he became a member of the Dragon Palace, he would have 100% loyalty and no second thoughts. This was very important to the development of the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Gue plucked Wang Xian's soul fruit and went to the dragon pool. Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue and the rest stood there and waited quietly. Eldest Princess Dragon Queen. Prime Minister Gue nodded at them. Then he moved his body and placed Wang Xian's soul fruit on the dragon's head. Buzz. When the soul fruit entered the dragon pool, Wang Xian instantly felt that he could sense his own body. Crush. Following that, the immortal material was placed into the dragon pool. The immortal material was a special energy. Even the dragon pool could not convert it into dragon blood. It could only be absorbed directly. Phew, I can finally control my own body. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he activated the divine dragon transformation immediately. The surrounding dragon blood gushed into his body crazily. Wang Xian was like a sponge, absorbing all kinds of energy crazily. The Dragon King is resurrecting. Prime Minister Jiuai heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the energy in Wang Xian's body in the dragon pool. He spoke to Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue and the rest. It might not take more than a month for little immortal to be resurrected. Lan Qingyue and the rest saw the changes in the dragon pool, and their worries were also relieved. Eldest Princess Dragon Queen, I'll go take care of the matters in the Dragon Palace first. Prime Minister Jiuai bade farewell and left. With a flash he came to the dragon cave. He looked ahead and checked on Tang Yinshen who was floating in the dragon field. Then he called Ao Jian and Ao Qitian to swim down the spiritual energy waterfall. Soon, when they arrived, the bottom of the spiritual waterfall was filled with countless aquatic creatures. They stayed quietly at the bottom of the sea and absorbed the spiritual energy. Besides the aquatic creatures, all the members of the Dragon Palace were also cultivating there. Prime Minister Gue looked satisfied. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, you guys guard the surroundings. These aquatic creatures are the foundation of our Dragon Palace. We must ensure that their cultivation will not be disturbed. Don't worry, Prime Minister Gue. Leave it to us. Ao Qitian patted his chest and promised. Okay. Prime Minister Gue glanced around. The appearance of this spiritual energy waterfall can shorten the development process of the aquatic creatures around the Dragon Palace by 80 to 90 years. It won't take long for the aquatic civilization to be established. It seems that we have to nurture the civil officials as soon as possible. Prime Minister Gue muttered to himself. He took out a book and a pen from his interspatial ring and began to plan for the future development of the aquatic creatures as well as the establishment of the underwater order after the appearance of the civil officials. Time passed slowly. The vitality of Wang Xian in the dragon pool grew stronger and stronger. The body of the divine dragon was growing slowly. The tremendous energy of the 4 immortal god corpses, coupled with the special energy of the undead matter. Within 10 days, Wang Xian's 10-meter-long body had completely recovered. However, 1/3 of the dragon blood in the dragon pool had yet to be absorbed. 12 days later, Wang Xian's body had grown to around 13 meters. Almost all of the dragon blood in the dragon pool had been absorbed. Beside the dragon pool, Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest looked at Wang Xian who was lying in the dragon pool nervously. Their faces were filled with anticipation. Welcome back, Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue, who was at the side, revealed a smile on his face. He knelt on the ground respectfully and said to Wang Xian, who was in the dragon pond. Roar. A faint dragon roar came from Wang Xian's mouth. He opened his eyes slowly and a five-colored light flashed past. Xiao Xian. Brother. When Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the other girls saw that Wang Xian had woken up, their eyes were filled with excitement. Wang Xian looked at them and smiled. His body floated up slowly as he slowly adapted to his body. His 13-meter-tall body was about 3 meters larger than before he died. A terrifying energy was transmitted from his body. Wang Xian felt that his body had undergone some special changes. The defense and recovery speed of my body has at least doubled. Although my offensive power has not increased, my current self is much stronger than before. Based on my cultivation base, I should be a middle-level immortal. If I were to face those two demonic middle-aged men again, I would definitely have the strength to fight them. I might even be able to suppress them. His dragon god body's defense was already very terrifying. Now that his defense had doubled, it was a qualitative change. This time, even if he were to take the demonic middle-aged man's attack head-on, he would at most be slightly injured. Wang Xian's body moved and flew to the side of the dragon pool. His body moved and transformed into human form. Brother. Xiao Xian. A few girls hugged him with their eyes slightly red. Wang Xian smiled at them and patted their backs. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and said, "What are you worried about? I told you guys in advance to wait for my resurrection. Even if we knew, we would still be worried." Xiao Yu hugged Wang Xian's arm and said with tears of joy, all right. Isn't this all right?" Wang Xian comforted the 5 girls for a while before walking towards Prime Minister Gue. Dragon King. You've worked hard these few days. I've worked hard for the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue smiled. How are things under the spiritual energy waterfall now? Wang Xian nodded and asked. Don't worry, Dragon King. Everything is in good order. Prime Minister Gue followed beside Wang Xian and walked into the Dragon King's palace. Where is Tang Yinshuan's body? Has she been buried or? Wang Xian was silent for a while and asked Prime Minister Gue with a heavy heart. Dragon King, Miss Tang's current situation is very special. Please follow me. Prime Minister Gue said to Wang Xian. Huh? Wang Xian was slightly stunned and looked at Prime Minister Gue in surprise. Chapter 689. Chapter 689. Dragon King, look over there. Prime Minister Gui pointed to the front. Wang Xian looked ahead and his expression changed. He moved and appeared directly in the dragon field. He looked at Tang Yinshan, who was surrounded by a type of dolphin, and a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. Wang Xian walked slowly towards her and came in front of her. He looked at the position of Tang Yinshuan's chest. At this moment, the injuries there had completely disappeared. Her entire body was emitting a pink glow. She was lying there like a young girl with a pink element, making her look exceptionally attractive. What's going on? She clearly... Wang Xian's eyes were sparkling as he stared at the dolphins around him. He was full of smiles. It's good that she's not dead. It's good that she's not dead. You saved our lives. Wang Xian heaved a heavy sigh of relief and walked towards her slowly. When the dolphins saw Wang Xian walking over, they took the initiative to open a path for him. Wang Xian walked to Tang Yinshuan's side and looked at her body. He reached out his hand and couldn't help but touch her face. A smile appeared on his face. I knew it. I knew he was a scumbag. A pervert. In the Dragon King's bedroom, 5 girls were standing on the stage and looking at the dragon field. Lan Qingyue couldn't help but snort coldly when she saw this scene. Sun Lingxiu smiled faintly. Speaking of which, Tang Yinshan can be considered to have saved our lives. Sigh. Ajaya sighed and shook her head. Xiao Yu stuck out his tongue. In the past, I decided to find a boyfriend only like my brother. In the future, I will definitely not find someone like him. If I want to find someone, I must find someone who can't beat me. That way he won't bully me and will do whatever I want. As she said this, a figure suddenly appeared in her mind and she couldn't help but smile. Xiao Yu, looking at how happy you are, do you have someone in mind? Lan Qingyue saw Xiao Yu's somewhat familiar smile and sized her up from head to toe. How is this possible? Xiao Yu was stunned and quickly shook his head. Really? Why do I feel like you have someone in your heart? Lan Qingyue said with a smile. How is this possible? I haven't met my Prince Charming yet. Impossible, this is impossible. Xiao Yu shook his head hard and firmly denied it. Xiao Yu, you're already 21 years old. You can find a boyfriend now. It's sister-in-law, you should take good care of my brother now. It's not good to have too many sister-in-law. You guys are enough. You little girl. Create a dragon cave for her by the side. Let her stay in the dragon cave and wait for her to recover. Wang Xian turned around slowly and said to Prime Minister Gue. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue nodded his head. Also call Ao Jian Ao Qitian, and the strange demon clan over. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he spoke again. Dragon King, are you going to? Prime Minister Gue hesitated for a moment before asking. I'm going to kill my way into that world. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he spoke. His eyes were filled with killing intent. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue felt a chill in his heart. He immediately nodded his head and walked out. The ancestral tree has acknowledged me as its master. In the future, I will have the insane ability to resurrect endlessly. However, resurrecting requires a huge amount of energy to reconstruct my physical body. The stronger I am, the more dragon blood I will need to resurrect. In the future, it will be extremely difficult to resurrect me. I might not even be able to support myself to resurrect. This time, even if the two demonic middle-aged men wanted to defeat us, it would be difficult for them to kill us. Every 9 cauldrons world will have rich resources. There, I will make use of the resources in that world to elevate Ao Yao to the immortal god realm. When that happens, I will turn the 9 cauldrons world upside down. Wang Xian was a person who would always seek revenge for his flaws. When the two demonic middle-aged men ambushed them, both parties were already at a stalemate. That Wang Xian would not wait for them to come to him. Instead, he would go to the 9 cauldrons world to look for them. He would fight his way into the 9 cauldrons world. He would fight to nourish the battle and kill to stop the killing. Today, my yellow cauldrons world has appeared. Citizens of the real world, please enlighten me. Ah. Today, our yellow heaven immortal sect has appeared. Please enlighten us. Today, our Hunyuan immortal sect has appeared. We are the only Hunyuan in the world. Today, our upper 9 immortal sects have appeared. All the talented people in the world can join our immortal sect. At this moment, weak voices entered his ears. Wang Xian was stunned and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. His body moved and appeared in the sky above the dragon palace. He looked in the direction of Wuxia. Today, the celestial sect of the Yellow Cauldron world has appeared. The celestial sect of Wuxia has reappeared in the world. All the sects have worshipped and all the outsiders have submitted. The overlapping voices of 5 to 6 celestials were heard. This voice had spread across more than the entire Wuxia. Phew! Wang Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with shock. The 9 cauldrons world has appeared. The Yellow Cauldrons world has appeared. The Yellow Cauldrons world had appeared in a high-profile manner. The immortal gods had used their mighty power to announce their arrival to the world. One could imagine that Wuxia and even the entire world had undergone a drastic change because of the appearance of the 9 cauldrons world. Ancient martial arts would no longer be an ancient martial art but a martial art. It was very likely that more people would come into contact with martial arts and become martial artists. And one by one, the immortal sects would control the entire martial arts world. This is the immortal sect. Wang Xian was amazed by the announcement of these few immortal deity statues. One day he would also announce the Dragon Palace like this. Dragon King. Dragon King. At this moment, Prime Minister Gue Ao Jian Ao Qitian, and a group of strange demons came to his side and greeted him respectfully. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. The Golden Age has already begun. We have to increase our strength as soon as possible. His eyes flickered as he turned his head and looked in the direction of the spiritual energy waterfall. Let's charge into the 9 cauldrons world. Dragon King, are we going to take revenge? Ao Qitian clenched his fists tightly and said with a ferocious expression. That's right. Let's go find them. Wang Xian nodded his head with a cold gaze. His gaze swept across the members of the Dragon Palace in front of him. Prime Minister Gue, you will guard the Dragon Palace. Ao Qitian Ao Jian, and the strange demon clan will follow me. There were 3 immortals, 15 nascent realm experts, and more than 130 Dan realm experts. This was an extremely terrifying force, especially for the strange demon clan. Their assassination techniques were extremely terrifying. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue and the rest responded loudly immediately. Get ready. We'll head over tomorrow. Wang Xian said to them. With a flash, he arrived at the bedroom in the Dragon Palace. Xiao Xian. Seeing Wang Xian enter, Lan Qingyue and the rest immediately walked over. I'm preparing to go to that world tomorrow. Wang Xian said to them. What? The 5 girls were stunned as they looked at him in astonishment. The yellow cauldron has already appeared in the world. We have to take revenge this time. Don't worry, I'm the owner of the ancestral tree and the soul returning tree. As long as I have the resources to revive, I can revive indefinitely. Wang Xian assured them. Chapter 690. Chapter 690. Ding. Do you want to build the sea pacifying needle? Level 1 sea pacifying needle requires 1 ton of level 13 materials and 3 tons of level 12 materials. After comforting Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest, Wang Xian went to the location of the sea pacifying needle. The sea pacifying needle could be taken away. The main function of the needle was to stabilize the calm within a 100-kilometer radius of the Dragon Palace. Even if there was a tsunami, it would calm down once it arrived here. When I first built the Dragon Palace, I only needed a little bit of materials. It was completely a blessing. Now, I need a lot of materials to build a sea pacifying needle. Wang Xian looked at the huge sea pacifying needle and looked at the materials in his interspatial ring. With all the materials in my interspatial ring and the metal rod in Ao Qitian's hand, I can create a sea pacifying needle. Wang Xian thought to himself. Then he asked Ao Qitian to bring over his broken metal rod. This time he had to be fully prepared when he entered another world. Ao Qitian's weapon had to be at least a good one. Ding. Do you want to create a sea pacifying needle? When all the materials were ready, the system's voice sounded. Confirmed. Boom, boom, boom. Beside the first ocean pacifying needle, another huge ocean pacifying needle slowly appeared. The ocean pacifying needle was 5 meters thick and 200 meters tall. Wang Xian stretched out his hand and held the ocean pacifying needle. Shrink. Buzz. The ocean pacifying needle instantly shrunk and turned into a 2-meter-long golden cudgel. The words ocean pacifying needle in gold were very obvious. A level 1 ocean pacifying needle is comparable to an immortal level weapon. Wang Xian waved his arm and threw it at Ao Qitian. This ocean pacifying needle is a gift for you. Thank you, Dragon King. A burning look flashed across Ao Qitian's eyes as he caressed the ocean pacifying needle with a face full of love. Big. With a flick of his arm, the ocean pacifying needle expanded to a size of 4 meters. Ao Qitian grinned. This kind of weapon that could expand and shrink was the best weapon for him. He could even make the ocean pacifying needle grow to a size of 200 meters when he was fighting. He moved his body excitedly and flew toward the dragon field. He was prepared to wave it around. Ao Qitian is the only one in the entire Dragon Palace who has a weapon at the level of an immortal god. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. The sword in his hand was still a level 12 spiritual weapon. He did not know how to forge a level 13 spiritual weapon because it involved a formation. Hence, he had to engrave a formation on the weapon. Due to the formation, the ocean pacifying divine needle could become bigger and smaller. Currently, the wood dragon bead and the fire dragon bead still require at least a year of nurturing before they can be upgraded to the level of an immortal god. The water dragon bead is only level 12. It's still a little lacking to upgrade it to level 13. I don't have the gold dragon bead and the earth dragon bead at the moment. Wang Xian looked at his 3 dragon bead weapons and had a thought. Name Wang Xian. Race, 5 elements divine dragon, able to transform into a human. Level 9. Dragon energy, 19,03421/10, 000000000. Supernatural ability, ruling the water tribe below one's own level. Devouring creatures to extract dragon chi. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation method, divine dragon transformation. Fire refining technique, using the fire of origin to refine everything. Water refining technique, Using the water refining technique to refine things for fun. Battle skills: Water Clone, Elementary; Blade Storm, Intermediate; Instant Water, Elementary. After this revival, my dragon energy has increased by more than 10 million. However, I'm still 800 million away from leveling up. The next morning, Wang Xian, Ao Qitian, Ao Jian, and the rest of the mysterious clan stood in the air. They stared at the sky with cold expressions. Xiao Xian, you have to be careful. Brother, be careful. Don't let me and my sisters-in-law worry. Below, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue and the rest raised their heads to look at Wang Xian and instructed him loudly. Don't worry. You guys wait for me here. Wang Xian nodded at them and took a deep breath. Red and blue light flickered in his eyes. The formation is not activated yet. We will definitely be injured after entering. We have to find a place to recover from our injuries first. Wang Xian instructed them. It's the Dragon King. A group of more than 100 members of the Dragon Palace replied to Wang Xian. All right, let's charge in. Killing intent flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. He stared at a spot where the formation was weak. With a wave of his arm, a crack was torn open. Go in. Ao Jian shouted loudly. The strange demons quickly entered the formation. Following Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, they tore through space and entered the formation. Crack, crack, crack. The terrifying attack of the formation instantly arrived. The stronger the person was, the stronger the attack of the formation would be when he entered. Those at the immortal level could protect those at the infant and Dan stage from entering, but they could not allow Wang Xian to enter safely. The attack of the formation instantly caused many wounds on their bodies, causing Wang Xian's expression to change slightly. In just a split second, another piece of sky appeared in Wang Xian's sight. In a sea area there were numerous islands. There were many strange black birds flying in the sky. The black birds looked like crows. They had blood-red eyes as they scanned the area below them ferociously. The buildings on the islands were mainly black. Even the seawater below was a little black, causing the entire sea area to be filled with a gloomy feeling. It did not look like the fairyland in the Yongchang world. Wang Xian and the rest of them moved and went straight to the sea below. Ao Yao, lead your clansmen to investigate the surroundings first. Wang Xian and Ao Jian sat cross-legged at the bottom of the sea to recover from their injuries. They ordered the strange demon clan to investigate the surroundings. With the strange demon clan's terrifying concealment ability, even an immortal god-level existence would not be able to detect them if they did not use their full strength. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded his head. He waved his hand at the group of people and immediately dispersed to his surroundings. Phew. 2 days later, Wang Xian opened his eyes. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, who were at the side, also stood up slowly. In these 2 days, not a single living creature has appeared around us. Wang Xian stood up and looked ahead. According to his senses, there were no living creatures. The entire seabed was like a dead zone, emitting a terrifying atmosphere. Dragon King, the demonic middle-aged man who attacked us back then, cultivated a strange cultivation technique. It should belong to the demonic path. Ao Jian said in a deep voice. Yes. Wang Xian nodded. Ao Yao is here. Dragon King. At this moment, figures appeared in front of them one by one. Have you investigated everything? Wang Xian asked. I have a rough idea of this world. This world is called the Yuding world. There are only 2 million living people in the entire world. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao are the 2 immortal sects that rule this world. According to our understanding, in the past, there were 3 immortal sects in this world with a population of 10 million. The other immortal sect was destroyed by the collaboration of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao. Besides the 2 million living people, there were also nearly 10 million dead puppets. The whole world was like a demonic domain. Chapter 691. Chapter 691. Dead Puppet. Wang Xian looked at Ao Yao in astonishment and asked. Yes, Dragon King. They can control and refine corpses, making them their subordinates and weapons. Ao Yao replied. In that case, the 2 demonic middle-aged men are from the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he asked. Yes, there are 6 immortals in this world. Each immortal sect has 3. Ao Yao said solemnly. 6. A hint of solemnity flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. If all 6 immortals were to attack, they would be able to kill them. However, they were in the dark while the enemy was in the light. How many islands are there? Wang Xian looked into the distance and asked in a deep voice. There are a total of 8 islands with humans living on them. The 2 largest islands in the middle are the ones inhabited by the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and the Immortal God Corpse Chief Dao. Ao Yao reported to Wang Xian. In that case, the rest of the people are living on the other 6 islands. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Let's go and take a look. Dragon King, these are the clothes of their world. Regardless of gender, they have protected themselves very well. Ao Yao took out a few pieces of black and blood-red clothes. They were similar to the clothes of the devilish middle-aged man. The blood-red clothes represent the Jade Hand sect while the black clothes represent the Corpse Chief Path. Perfect. Wang Xian looked at the clothes and draped them over his body. Ao Qitian also wrapped a piece of clothes around himself, revealing only 2 eyes. Let's go. Wang Xian moved his body and flew towards an island in front of him. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian were on either side of him. As for the strange demons, they completely concealed themselves. It's similar to the ancient times. Wang Xian and the rest came to the edge of an island and looked ahead. There were many ancient buildings. The entire island was about 30 to 40 miles in circumference. In the middle was a street with shops around it. There were not many people on the street. Most of them were wearing blood-red and black clothes. Only a few of them were wearing white clothes. White meant that they had not joined the 2 immortal sections. When he came to the street, he realized that it was very quiet inside. The people around him seldom spoke. Stepping on the black bricks gave him an uncomfortable feeling. Wang Xian looked at the shops around him and saw a weapons shop. He gestured to Ao Qitian and Ao Jian before walking inside. As soon as he entered the shop, Wang Xian saw a woman dressed in revealing and cold clothes standing by the door. The woman's face was extremely pale and had a pretty face. However, Wang Xian could not sense any signs of life from her. His expression changed slightly. This was a puppet, a dead person. Take a look at what you want. At this moment, a cold voice came from inside. Veteran, have you finished forging my spiritual weapon? At this moment, a haughty voice came from outside. A young man dressed in blood-red clothes walked in with his head slightly raised. Behind him were 2 middle-aged men who were exuding a strong murderous aura. He was only dressed in a blood-red robe. His face was not concealed at all, revealing his uniqueness. Young Master Shui, the spiritual weapon has been forged for you. An old man stood up from inside. With a smile on his face, he took out an exquisite box and placed it on the table. Huh? Wang Xian looked at the box and narrowed his eyes slightly. A grade 12 material. It was actually a grade 12 material. The young man walked over and opened the box. A black longsword was held in his hand. Not bad, not bad. The young man looked satisfied. As expected of the hands of a grandmaster. Here, 100 blood coagulation pills for the dance stage. A jade bottle was thrown over. The old man opened it and looked at it. He looked delighted. Young Master Shui, after the last day of business, we won't be doing it anymore. Oh, why not? The cauldron of you is about to appear. High-quality weapons are in short supply. The young man looked at the old man curiously. Young Master Shui, after the cauldron of you appears, this blood coagulation pill won't be worth much anymore. Moreover, the materials I have will be worth a lot. The old man said with a smile. That's true. When our 9 cauldrons appear, it will be the time for us to wreak havoc in the world. Young Master Mingxue, who was established by the immortal god, should have the strength to join us, right? Of course. When the cauldron of you appears, Mingsha will shock the heavens. Kiki, when the time comes, the heavens will allow us to fly freely. The young man and the old man conversed without any scruples, especially the young man in blood-red clothes. His face was filled with arrogance. When Wang Xian heard their conversation, the red and blue light in his eyes swept across the surroundings. A trace of shock and killing intent flashed past. The spiritual artifacts on the surrounding walls were all forged using crude methods. A level 12 material to forge a level 11 weapon. This was not a weapon forging technique but a forging technique. There were more than a dozen level 12 spiritual weapons in this weapon shop. These were all level 13 materials. If one knew about formations, they could definitely forge immortal spiritual weapons. What filled Wang Xian with killing intent was the blood-clotting pill in the jade bottle. The so-called blood-clotting pill was not a medicinal pill. Instead, it was a kind of medicinal pill that was formed by condensing the flesh and blood of living beings or even humans using a special method. Consuming this blood-clotting pill would naturally increase the energy. No wonder there aren't any living beings in the ocean of the island. It turns out that all of them have been refined into blood-clotting pills. What a crazy world. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. With a wave of his arm, the door of the shop was shut. Ha! The old man and the young man were stunned. They immediately looked at Wang Xian. Who told you to close the door? The young man shouted coldly and slowly pulled out his spiritual sword. An ordinary disciple who's subordinate. Wang Xian slowly took off his hat and waved his arm at the two middle-aged men behind the young man. Boom! A flame landed on the two of them, rendering them silent. When the young man and the old man saw Wang Xian's attack, their expressions changed drastically. Flame, fire attribute. Who are you? Ah. At this moment, the puppet lady who had been standing at the door suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed at them ferociously. The puppet had an attack power at the dance stage. This puppet was an expert at the dance stage. Ao Jian pointed with his finger and a metal longsword smashed her head into pieces. Metal attribute. You guys are not from our world. The old man was shocked when he saw Ao Jian's attack. In the world of the Cauldron of You, there were no fire and metal attribute cultivators. There were only demon and water attributes. Do you guys know these two people? Wang Xian stared at them coldly. With a wave of his arm, the images of the two demonic middle-aged men appeared in the void. This is. The two of them swept their gaze over and their faces turned gloomy immediately. They stared at them with flickering eyes. Who is this? Ao Qiqian waved his arm and his hairy palm grabbed the necks of the young man and the old man as he asked in a stern tone. Chapter 692. Chapter 692. These are our Lord Snow Demon and Lord Blood Arrow. Who are you and what do you want to do? The young man was grabbed by Ao Qiqian's neck. His face was flushed red as he growled in a low voice. Which immortal sect are they from? Wang Xian asked coldly. Lord Snow Demon is the sect master of the Jade Hand Immortal sect while Lord Blood Arrow is the sect master of Corpse Chief Dao. Can you let me go? A hint of fear flashed across the young man's eyes as he said with a trembling body. No. Wang Xian said coldly. Ao Qiqian's arm shook, and both of them fell to the ground with their eyes wide open. Wang Xian took the jade bottle from the old man's hand and opened it. The blood-clotting pills were poured out one by one, emitting a meaty fragrance. Wang Xian frowned slightly and threw them aside. He looked at the surrounding walls. There were many rough spiritual artifacts, but the materials were exceptionally precious. Especially the grade 13 materials. There are more materials in this world than in the Yongchang world. It might be because there are fewer people here. Wang Xian thought to himself. He took out an interspatial ring and kept it all with a wave of his arm. At present he had killed quite a number of experts from the Nine Cauldrons world. There were dozens of interspatial rings in Wang Xian's hand. Any more would be able to hold it. Let's see if there are any other treasures. Wang Xian pointed to Ao Jian and Ao Qiqian behind him. Then he sat on a seat at the side and waited quietly. On the island, many strange demons were walking on the streets openly, entering every area. Even in the daytime they were still walking unscrupulously. As long as they did not attack they would not show themselves. Dragon King, the map of the entire island has been drawn. Every shop has recorded it. This island is under the control of Corpse Chief Dao. We found a venue in the middle. Corpse Chief Dao is selecting elites to form the Netherkill organization there. Half an hour later, Ao Yao appeared in the room and reported to Wang Xian. How are the elixirs in the elixir store on the island? Which family has more resources? Find them as soon as possible. Wang Xian instructed Ao Yao. There is a herb garden in the central area. There are many grade 5, grade 6 and grade 7 spiritual herbs in there. Ao Yao replied. Check it out first. Search all the places on the 6 islands thoroughly. There are 6 immortals here. Once we make a move we must be absolutely confident. Wang Xian said in a deep voice. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. With a move he disappeared. Wang Xian stood in the shop and waited quietly. After half a day, Ao Yao returned with news after news. Wang Xian did not make a move. Instead, they moved and flew towards another island. Each island was about 50 kilometers away. This Dingyu world was not smaller than the Yongchang world. However, a large area was like an ocean. Time passed day by day. Wang Xian did not make a move. The information was reported to him one by one, giving him a detailed understanding of this world. 4 days later, Wang Xian and the rest returned to the original island. He held a document in his hand. On it was the list of the Netherworld Killer Organization. At the same time, this was the most elite and core disciple of the two great immortal sects in the entire Yuding world. This Netherworld Killer Organization was a setup of the Yuding world. During these few days, Wang Xian had some understanding of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao Immortal Sect. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect was an assassin organization in ancient times. Furthermore, it was one of the strongest assassin organizations in the Jianghu. Corpse Chief Dao, on the other hand, was a force that everyone in the Immortal Sect wanted to beat up. They used the corpses of the strong as puppets to control them. The Devil Dao in the Jianghu was born from Corpse Chief Dao. Compared to the Devil Dao, they were more powerful and cruel. Now that Yuding was about to appear, the two immortal sects were preparing to establish the Underworld Killing Organization, which was also known as the Assassin Organization. First, it was to intimidate the Jianghu. Second, it was to obtain huge benefits. On the information, there was a list of all the members of the Underworld Killing Organization and their detailed residences. There are a total of more than 1,000 people, 300 nascent realm and over 1,000 elixir realm experts. They are the core force of the entire Yuding. I don't know if the Netherworld Killer or the Strange Demon is more powerful. A hint of killing intent appeared in Wang Xian's eyes. He looked ahead with a smile and his eyes were filled with coldness. Tonight, I'm preparing to attack overnight. I want to kill all the core forces of the two great immortal sections. When the time comes, the furious immortal gods will definitely search for the murderer everywhere. As long as they meet the scattered ones, they will surround and kill them. With Wang Xian and the rest's strength, they could not kill the 6 immortal gods directly. They could only scatter them and attack them one by one. In addition, send 20 strange demons to all the shops, herb gardens and the treasure vaults of the big families. Bring all the treasures here. Wang Xian looked at Ao Yao and instructed. We will attack together with you. Wang Xian looked at Ao Jian and Ao Qitian. We must not let what happened here get out. Tonight, let this place fall asleep. It's the Dragon King. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian nodded. Boom. At this moment, the sound of thunder came from the sky. Wang Xian looked at the sky with a smile on his face. The rainstorm tonight. Even the heavens are helping us. Crash. At around 9 o'clock, the entire island quieted down. The rain poured down in torrents. There were no pedestrians on the streets and all the shops were closed. This was a cruel world. There were once more than 10 million people in this world, but only 2 million people remained because of the battle. According to the information obtained from the strange demon tribe 10 years ago, there were still more than 10 million people in this world. However, in 10 years there were less than 8 million people. There were 2 reasons for this. First, the resources of Yuding world had already been used up. Second, it was because of the blood solidification pill. The blood solidification pill was announced by an immortal god, and then the 4 immortal gods began to raise goo. That's right, nurture goo. 10 million people were used as goo. When 10 million people fought, the ones left were the elites. They used this method to select the elites, creating the situation of hundreds of thousands of innate experts. 2 of the immortal gods were born during these 10 years. The price was that the number of people dropped to over 2 million. In the end, the immortal god gave the order to stop fighting. According to all the signs, the immortal gods here are all doing this for the appearance of the cauldron of you. They knew that the 9 cauldrons had appeared, so they did such a terrifying thing in order to make their subordinates stronger. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. The only sound left on the entire island was the sound of a rainstorm. Do it. Wang Xian looked at the sky and shouted softly. There was no sound in the surroundings. The aura of the strange demons had also disappeared. Wang Xian and Ao Jian also headed toward the addresses on the information. Chapter 693. Chapter 693. In a luxurious ancient building, 4 to 5 middle-aged elders sat in the center of the hall. There was wine, meat, and wine on the table. Around them there were guards. These guards were not living people, they were puppets. During the 10 years of Yu Ding nurturing Gu, brothers had turned against each other, father and son were enemies. The guards were not the most loyal, only the puppets were the most loyal subordinates. Thus, the puppets around them listened to their commands. Yu Ding will appear in half a month at most. As the leader of Underworld Assassination Team, we need to make some progress as soon as possible. Haha, with our strength and our 10 years of killing experience, when we enter the real world, even the other experts of the 9 Cauldrons world will not be able to stop us, Underworld Killer, from showing off our abilities. At that time we will make the entire Jianghu jittery. We can't look down on the heroes of the world. I heard that Lord Snow Demon and Lord Blood Arrow were seriously injured not long ago. Yes, we don't know the exact reason for the serious injuries. However, I heard that Lord Snow Demon's maidservant said that an immortal god in the real world used up his life to launch an attack that heavily injured the 2 lords. Our world is too small. After we get out, we will become the kings of the darkness. The 5 middle-aged elders spoke with confidence. The appearance of the Cauldron of Yu made them excited by the slaughter and bloodshed. They wanted to become the kings of the darkness, making everyone fear them. Pooh 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 pooh. The 5 of them raised the wine cups in their hands. However, at this moment, sharp claws entered their heads and pierced through them. Take away all the treasures. A low roar sounded as all the spirit tools were taken away one by one. In the surroundings, the puppets fell to the ground after their master died. There was a clap of thunder outside, as if a prelude had been drawn. I will fuse into the darkness and become the king of darkness. In a sturdy basement, an old man slowly walked in. His figure slowly melted into the darkness. The entire basement was pitch black, so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. This darkness wasn't night, but was covered by demonic chi. Only existences stronger than him could see him. But only immortals and gods were stronger than him. There were more than 10 beds around him, and he had no idea where the old man was lying. You guys are really vigilant. At this moment, a sound suddenly came from the basement, making the old man who was lying on the bed feel a chill down his spine. Pooh. However, just as he was about to stand up, a water sword directly pierced through his body. How? The old man's face was full of disbelief. He was an expert who had fought his way out from the mountain of corpses, yet he was actually assassinated. There are more than 60 Infant Realm experts on this island. In less than an hour we will be able to finish them all off. The 6 islands are at the exact moment of daybreak. It will be the moment when the people of this world will feel the world turning upside down. Wang Xian mumbled and disappeared into the rainy night. His body moved and he arrived at another place. At the same time, Ao Jian and Ao Qitian's bodies were also moving rapidly across the entire island. Even though Ao Qitian's physique was not good at assassination, it was a piece of cake for an immortal to assassinate an Infant Realm expert. They would never have imagined that the enemies that their 2 immortal masters had provoked in the real world would bring them such a terrifying disaster. This is the medicinal garden on the island. There are 5 Infant Realm experts guarding it. This group of Infant Realm experts also has 10 Infant Realm puppets. Wang Xian came to the location of the herb garden at the center of the island. There were 6 islands and each island had a herb garden. A large number of herbs were planted in the herb garden. Among them, the demonic attribute pills and water attribute pills were the main ones. With a thought, Wang Xian used his water swords to kill the 5 infant stage powerhouses easily. Then he kept the spiritual herbs into his interspatial ring. There are quite a number of grade 7 spiritual herbs. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Although grade 7 spiritual herbs were precious, they were not of much use to immortals. Only grade 8 spiritual herbs were useful to immortals. Wang Xian moved his body and disappeared. When he arrived at the ocean, Ao Jian and Ao Qitian had already arrived. Dragon King. The 2 of them shouted. At this moment, Wang Xian sensed the energy coming from behind him. The strange demon clan had arrived. Is there anything wrong? Wang Xian asked directly. No. The strange demon shook his head. Although the people in this world are very vigilant, they return to their homes every day because of their vigilance. Not a single one of them is left behind. All right, let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head. He looked at the other island and moved forward rapidly. With the three of them at the immortal god level, it was easy for the strange demon clan to deal with the other elixir realm experts. If the immortal god wasn't careful, he wouldn't be able to discover Wang Xian and the rest, let alone the existence of the elixir realm experts. The slaughter was going on at a terrifying speed. The core experts of the two immortal sects of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect, Corpse Chief Dao, were decreasing at a terrifying speed. One island after another passed by, and Wang Xian's 5 to 6 interspatial rings were filled up. There was a large amount of metal materials and spiritual herbs. This was especially so for metal materials. There were many spiritual artifacts in this world because more than 8 million people were killed. Many of the dance stage experts even had level 12 spiritual artifacts in their hands. Moreover, a large portion of the spiritual artifacts were made from level 13 materials. This made Wang Xian extremely excited. With these materials he could forge many spirit weapons. In the future, when he could inscribe formations on the spirit weapons, he could definitely forge immortal level weapons. Pooh pooh pooh. Wang Xian waved his arm and the last 3 infant stage powerhouses fell to the ground. The few puppets around them fell at the same time. After putting away the grade 12 spirit weapons, Wang Xian waved his arm and left a few words on the ground. Then he moved and flew directly toward the beach. Dragon King, Dragon King. When he arrived, Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and the strange demon clan were already waiting for him. Let's go. Excitement flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. The group entered the water and came to a remote depth of the sea. Dragon King, these are the spiritual artifacts and spiritual herbs in the interspatial ring. Ao Yao passed more than 100 interspatial rings to Wang Xian. Most of these interspatial rings belonged to the people they assassinated. All of them were filled with treasures. The sun will be up in 2 hours. Ao Yao, let me raise your strength to the immortal realm first. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as he took out spiritual herbs from the interspatial ring. He took out all the spiritual herbs that could not be combined to refine pills and turned them into dragon energy directly. Following that, Wang Xian poured majestic dragon qi into Ao Yao's body. The immortal god, who was good at assassination, was crucial to their revenge. Whether they could kill the 2 demonic young men depended entirely on Ao Yao. The dragon spike was used to assassinate the immortal god. Chapter 694. Chapter 694. Boom. At the bottom of the sea, a terrifying aura was emitted. It was directly blocked by Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and Wang Xian. Ao Yao Yao, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground and at the bottom of the sea, was emitting a bright energy. His entire body was milky white. After cultivating the divine dragon transformation of light, the strange Yao Yao was even more terrifying than before. Unlike Sun Lingxiu was more powerful in the treatment of light because she was a doctor. On the other hand, the strange demon tribe was extremely good at using the concealment of light. The 1.8-meter-tall Ao demon's nearly 1.5-meter-tall arm was flickering with light. Gradually, white scales covered it completely. On the claws, specks of white light were flickering, making the entire claw look extremely penetrating. But all of a sudden Ao Yao's body disappeared from their sight. Even if Wang Xian and the rest tried their best to sense it, they could not sense any living beings there. Wang Xian moved his arm and a water sword landed there. As a result, the water sword landed on the bottom of the sea. Ha! Dragon King. At this moment, Ao Yao's body appeared at the side. He was wearing a white leather coat that completely covered his body. The hazy light energy made it impossible to see his true appearance. He was very pretentious. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment before he laughed. Ao Yao, it seems that your concealment has become much stronger. How confident are you in assassinating immortals of the same level? 30%, 30% confidence. Ao Yao hesitated for a moment before she replied. 30%. Wang Xian frowned slightly. I will reveal myself when I attack. Moreover, when I want to assassinate someone, I will definitely have killing intent or killing intent. Immortals can sense it. Once my first attack does not cause a serious injury to the other party, it is basically impossible to kill the other party. Ao Yao replied. That's true. 30% is already very terrifying. Wang Xian nodded his head. It was not easy to kill an immortal powerhouse. A 30% chance was already very terrifying. No matter how powerful the concealment was, if the immortal powerhouse was prepared, he would be able to react. Furthermore, he could still force Ao Yao to reveal herself in a special way. 30% is enough. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. He didn't want Ao Yao to assassinate the immortals alone. Instead, he wanted Ao Yao to assassinate them when they were besieging them. This could increase the success rate to 70% or even 90%. It's daybreak. The world is about to boil. Wang Xian looked up at the sky. The rainstorm was still pouring down, but the sky was already bright. However, at this very moment, there were 2 islands in the middle of the world of Yuding. These 2 islands were not very big. There were 2 mountains that were about 100 meters tall on them. Black trees grew on the entire island, and strange black birds were flying in the sky above them. More than 1,000 Netherkill members have been selected. Next, the deity will train them individually and teach them an assassination combat technique. I really envy them. Netherkill is a powerful organization jointly established by our 2 great immortal sections. In the future, it will definitely become famous and awe-inspiring in the world of martial arts. It's also good for us to follow the Lord Immortal God. Killing is the most exciting thing. It's too boring to stay by the Lord Immortal God's side. I like the weak begging for mercy under me and the frightened faces. 2 figures appeared in the sky. They stood on 2 5-meter-long black strange birds and came to the top of a small island. This was a small island with no people. To be precise, all the people who used to live on this island had been killed. The small island was located in the center of the 6 islands. Oh, where are they? Where are the members of Netherkill? Why haven't they arrived yet? It's already 9 o'clock. We told them to wait here at 8 o'clock. The 2 old men standing on the strange black bird revealed sullen expressions. They were the famous people who followed the immortal god. How dare these people of Netherworld Killer disobey them? That's not right. It's impossible that all the members of Netherworld Killer didn't come. Could it be that we informed them of the wrong time yesterday? An old man frowned slightly. The time isn't wrong. Come, let's go to Lianshang Island and take a look. Another old man's face darkened as he pointed in a direction. The strange black bird that he was sitting on immediately flew over. An old man beside him also followed closely behind. When they arrived above Lianshang Island, their gazes swept downwards. Everything was as usual. There were some pedestrians on the street. Something's not right. The old man swept his gaze over and discovered that the weapon shops and medicinal pill shops were all closed. This is bad. Lord Mo Qian and the others have been killed. Right at this moment, a cry of alarm sounded from the middle of the island. What? The expressions of the 2 old men changed drastically. Their bodies moved and they flew directly towards the medicinal garden. When they saw the 5 old men lying in the room, their faces revealed an embarrassed expression. A fatal blow. With their strength, how could they be killed in one blow? Unless it's someone they are familiar with, they would have a chance. An old man saw the wounds on the corpses on the ground and the puppet lying on the side. There was no sign of struggle or battle at all. He analyzed with an embarrassed expression. He turned his head and stared at the middle-aged man with a fierce gaze. Lord Oracle, it's not me. I want to enter the herb garden to tidy up the spiritual herbs, but without Lord Mo Qian's permission, I have no right to enter. After shouting for a long time without an answer, I knocked on the door. In the end, the door was directly opened and I saw. The middle-aged man said with a face full of fear, his face full of sweat. When the 2 elders saw the middle-aged man's expression, they had already made a judgment in their hearts. Under the circumstances where the immortal god had decreed that killing was prohibited, no one dared to offend the dignity of the immortal god. Let's go to the herb garden and take a look. An elder's heart moved, and he flew directly to the sky above the herb garden. When he saw the empty herb garden inside, his expression immediately became unsightly. Someone actually came to snatch the medicinal garden. How audacious, truly courting death. The old man's face was filled with anger as he shouted. Not good, Manager Wang of the 1,000 Tool Workshop has been killed. Right at this moment, a terrified voice suddenly came from the street not far away. The old man's expression changed. Only now did he remember that all the members of Netherkill had not arrived. A bad premonition suddenly welled up in his heart. Let's go. The 2 old men moved and flew directly towards the street. Who is it? Who killed my father? Suddenly, another furious voice sounded, causing the two old men's expressions to instantly become ugly. Let's go to the shop to take a look first. The two old men exchanged a glance and immediately went to the sky above the shop. The people passing by below looked inside with astonished expressions. The two old men directly entered the shop and saw an old man lying on the ground with a child puppet beside him. All the spiritual artifacts in the shop had disappeared. Don't touch the corpse. Don't go in. Chapter 695. Chapter 695. The two old men swept their surroundings with grim expressions. Then, their bodies moved and flew toward the location of the voice. In a luxurious courtyard, a middle-aged man was hugging his father's corpse with a face full of grief and indignation. Brother Qin. The two old men were slightly shocked. They knew the person who died. He was a famous expert of the Jade Hand Immortal sect. In the entire Yuding, he was also a super expert that could be ranked in the top 5 below Immortal God. His strength had already reached the half-step Immortal God realm. However, at this moment, the spot between his brows was directly penetrated. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. There were still no signs of a fight in the surroundings. A single fatal move. In the entire Yuding, who has the strength to kill Brother Qin with a single move? Other than the Immortal God realm, who else? An old man said with an embarrassed expression. Brother Qin has just become one of the vice leaders of Netherkill, and then someone. As another old man spoke, he suddenly felt a little terrified. Not good, something big might have happened. The old man's expression changed drastically. His body moved and he directly flew toward a courtyard not far away. That was also the residence of an expert from the Jade Hand Immortal sect. At the same time, it was also the future management of Netherkill Group. When he landed in the courtyard, he smelled the stench of blood. This caused his expression to change and he directly entered the room. In the room, a corpse whose head had been crushed was lying there quietly. Not good, the sky might collapse. The old man's pupils couldn't help but shrink, and his figure flew into the distance once more. Gu Duan, he's dead too. From behind, another old man flew over and asked with a sullen face. Yes, the sky might collapse. Let's go to the residences of the other Netherkill members. The old man's face was filled with fear as he flew towards the residences of the Netherkill members one by one. In the end, the sky really collapsed. He's dead. All the Netherkill members were killed. How is this possible? How is this possible? The old man's face was filled with disbelief, and his body trembled slightly. There are so many experts, even half-step spirit realm experts. How can they be assassinated? This is Netherkill, the strongest 1,000 people in the world of Yuding. Unless an immortal god makes a move, otherwise. Another old man growled in a low voice. Go report to the immortal god. I'll go to the other 5 islands and take a look. The old man hurriedly said. All right. The two figures moved and flew away at the fastest speed. When the old man arrived at the other island, he discovered that the entire island had already fallen into chaos. The deaths of the experts were discovered one by one. Everyone's faces were filled with fear as they discussed in the surroundings. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, 6 figures flew over from the sky. 2 demonic young men, a strange youth, 2 old men, and a bewitching woman. The 6 of them stood in the sky above the island, their expressions extremely unsightly. Netherkill members, there are still alive. The devilish middle-aged man with snow-white arms shouted in a low voice with a gloomy face. His voice instantly spread across the 6 islands in the surrounding area. The disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal sect and Corpse Chief Dao on the island raised their heads to look at the 6 immortals in the sky with terrified expressions. But there are still alive. After more than 10 seconds, there was no reply. The demonic youth with snow-white arms growled with an ugly expression. Still there was no reply. Dead, all dead, how is this possible, how is this possible? On the side, an immortal god old man was trembling, his eyes were blood red as he growled. This was the strongest person in Yuding, the elites of the 2 immortal sects. They had the right to dominate the world in the future. In order to nurture these top people, they even used tens of millions of people as Gu to create their strongest subordinates. Now they were all dead. Their 10-year plan was completely destroyed. Lord Immortal God, there are words left in the medicinal garden here. At this moment an old man in blood-red clothes said in fear. In the sky, the figures of the 6 immortal gods instantly disappeared and appeared on the medicinal garden in the middle of the island. At this moment, there were no more spiritual herbs in the medicinal garden. A line of words was written on the ground. Snow Demon Blood Arrow, we have returned for revenge. We want to destroy your immortal sect. The line of words was clearly engraved on the ground. Seeing the words on the ground, the 2 demonic middle-aged men instantly revealed furious expressions. Snow Demon Blood Arrow, who have you provoked? The woman next to them stared at the words on it with an unsightly expression as she asked in a low voice. The other 3 immortal gods also stared at the 2 with flickering eyes. Sect leader, all the members of Netherkill were killed in one blow. Regardless of whether they were at the dance stage or the half-step immortal god stage, they were all killed in one blow. Some had their heads crushed, some had their vitals pierced through by sharp swords, and some were stabbed to death by dagger-like weapons. An elder beside him reported in a deep voice, at least 2 immortal god experts and a group of infant stage experts attacked. Damn it. The snow demon's body emitted a dense black murderous aura, and its blood-red eyes shot out a terrifying light. We haven't left the Jianghu world for hundreds of years. The only immortal gods we've offended are the 3 immortal gods from half a month ago. However, one of them is already dead. The other 2 must have come to avenge them. The demonic chi on Shui Jian's body surged, and a terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Everyone in the surroundings lay on the ground in terror, not daring to move. He actually dared to barge into the Jianghu world and kill our subordinates. I want to kill him. I want to skin him and strip him of his bones. I want to make him a slave so that he will never be able to rise again. The snow demon raised its head, and its snow-white arms slowly turned black. Snow Demon Blood Arrow, just who did you provoke? You actually let the other party kill their way into our world. The devilish youth stared at them coldly, letting out a somewhat aged voice. There are 3 immortal god-level sea creatures in the real world, and only 2 of them are alive. Blood Arrow replied coldly. Sea creatures? It was the time you were injured half a month ago. The bewitching woman coldly snorted and asked them. They dare to enter our world, kill my subordinates and destroy our plans for more than 10 years. Don't even think about getting out. The snow demon roared furiously and didn't answer the woman's question. They left their words here and want to destroy our immortal sect. They definitely haven't left our world yet. The devilish youth's eyes flickered. Our losses are so great now. If we can't capture those 2 immortal gods, our 10-year plan will be destroyed in an instant. Wind Devil, Wind Fiend, immediately head to the weakest part of the array formation. If they want to leave, they can only do so from there. Get everyone from the immortal sect to dig 3 feet into the ground and find them for me. I want them to enjoy all the torture in the human world. The eyes of the snow demon were filled with madness and killing intent. All right. The 2 elders nodded. The other party is an immortal god. A disciple at the core realm won't be able to find them. We'll go look for them personally. Once we find them, we'll immediately notify them. Chapter 696. Chapter 696. The 6 immortals immediately flew around, 2 of them guarding the weakest part of the array to prevent them from escaping. The snow demon Blood Arrow, the devilish youth, and the bewitching woman all flew in one direction. Below them, more than 1 million people from the 6 islands began to search. More than 1,000 of Netherkill's members were killed in one night. It's too terrifying. That's more than 1,000 of the most powerful people in our Jianghu world. Every one of them is an expert with rich combat experience. Every one of them has killed more than 1,000 enemies. Now that Jianghu is about to appear in the world, more than 1,000 of the most powerful people in our world have been killed. After the world appears, our Jianghu world is probably going to decline. That's right. I heard that the immortals from the real world came to our world to take revenge. Immortals, please let us look for the immortals. If they hide, we won't be able to find them. If we find them, it will be our death. Everyone from the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao felt a chill in their hearts. If they were asked to look for the murderer of the experts from Yuding world, even if they found him, the consequences would be obvious. However, if they didn't look for him, the immortal gods in the immortal sect wouldn't let them off either. Over 1 million people began to search the 6 islands. At the same time, the snow demon, Blood Arrow, the demonic youth, and the bewitching woman were also looking at the islands in the sky, using their powerful energy to sense them. The torrential rain was still falling, making their search a little more difficult. The four people's expressions were extremely ugly, but it was impossible for them not to continue their search. The murderer was still in their world. If they were allowed to assassinate him, it might not be long before the two immortal sect disciples were all killed. An immortal god-level expert would lower his status to kill a core stage disciple. It was simply a wave of his hand that annihilated a large number of them. The Snow Demon and Blood Arrow are really troublemakers. They've ruined the future of the entire immortal sect. If we still can't catch those two immortal gods, the losses would be too great. The devilish youth swept his gaze downwards with a gloomy expression. With a flick of his finger, 3 puppets appeared in front of him. 2 old men and a young girl. Their faces were incomparably pale. Their bodies were covered in white fur and their eyes were blood red. Search for them. As long as there's someone sent, report immediately. The devilish youth ordered the 3 puppets. Its master. They spoke emotionlessly. They sniffed slightly and entered the ocean. In the other direction, the black strange birds that blotted out the sky and covered the earth emitted quacking sounds. Under the control of the devilish woman, they entered the ocean directly. They're here. At the same time, at the bottom of the ocean, a devilish person sent a message. A hint of a smile flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. An immortal god is here. Get ready. Wang Xian held a jade plate in his hand. This was an array formation. Concealment array formation, level 1. A level 1 array formation. Back in the Yongchang world, when the experts from the spirit tools and elixir shops came to assassinate him, they used the concealment array formation to cover the entire sky. In the space of the concealment array formation, the sound of the battle would be completely concealed. However, this concealment formation was a grade 1 formation after all. Furthermore, it was not a trapping formation or a killing formation. Immortals could easily get out of the formation. However, this was sufficient. Wang Xian placed the jade plate of the concealment formation in the hands of the 4 infant stage strange demons. He instructed them to activate it in the surroundings at any time. The torrential rain fell on the surface of the sea with a series of sounds. The 3 puppets were in the middle of the sea, searching the bottom of the sea. The devilish young man in the sky was staring downwards with a hint of vigilance in his eyes. The other party had 2 immortals. Although they could not kill him in an instant, they might be severely injured by a sneak attack. Being vigilant, he would not put himself in any danger. The first one is really vigilant. The figure of a devilish young man appeared in Wang Xian's line of sight. He narrowed his eyes slightly. After calculating the direction of the devilish young man's movement, Wang Xian immediately gestured to the surrounding devilish demons. The 4 nascent soul stage devilish demons brought along the concealment formation and slowly swam up to the surface of the sea. Their speed was very slow and they occupied 4 positions. With the 4 devilish demons' movement, even Wang Xian could not see or sense their existence. In the sky, the demonic young man slowly looked at the flying figures in front of him. His gaze was also scanning the surroundings. Now, when the 3 puppets were only 2,000 meters away from Wang Xian and the rest, Wang Xian had a thought. At the same time, he gave an order to Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and the 4 strange demons. Boom! In an instant, they burst out with a terrifying speed and attacked the demonic young man in the sky. Ha! The devilish young man instantly looked in the direction of Wang Xian and the rest. His expression changed slightly. We've discovered them. Come quickly. He let out a wild roar. This sound would definitely be able to spread throughout the entire Yuding world. Buzz. However, at this instant he felt that his voice was blocked by an energy. Formation. The devilish young man's expression changed slightly. Die. At this moment Wang Xian let out a cold shout from below. 5 spiritual swords stabbed towards the demonic young man. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, Ao Jian's long sword and Ao Qitian's ocean-pacifying divine needle also attacked the demonic young man directly. 3 immortals. The demonic young man's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his arm, a puppet clad in grade 13 metal appeared in front of him. The puppet met Wang Xian and the other 2 directly. Eat my stick. Ao Qitian shouted excitedly. The ocean-pacifying divine needle in his hand suddenly became 10 meters long and half a meter thick. Boom! A terrifying force landed on the puppet, causing it to fall down instantly. The devilish young man's expression did not change. Two blood-red daggers were thrown directly at Wang Xian and Ao Jian. The daggers collided with Wang Xian and Ao Jian's spiritual swords. You actually ambushed me? Do you think I'm so easy to ambush? Three immortals dared to barge into the Ding of You world and assassinate our underlings. We will bury you here forever. The devilish young man waved his arm. Instantly, the entire concealment formation was filled with demonic aura. Just you wait. The devilish young man let out a sinister voice and fled outside at a terrifying speed. Pucci. Just as he turned to flee, a terrifying snow-white arm suddenly appeared. A sharp claw directly pierced through the devilish youth's chest. With a pull of the long arm, a large chunk of flesh was instantly grabbed out. What? No. There's actually... In an instant, the devilish youth revealed a terrified expression. Beside him, a terrifying immortal killer appeared out of thin air. Just now, he actually didn't discover the other party's existence. This made him feel somewhat incredulous. He was an immortal god-level expert, and his specialty was assassination. An assassination king was assassinated. Just now their attack was a feint. The real assassination was here. The bewitching youth's eyes were filled with despair. Yuding world, the first immortal god had fallen. 1. Chapter 697. Chapter 697. Bang! The body of the devilish young man fell into the sea and landed at the bottom of the sea. Wang Xian moved his body and entered the sea. The surrounding monsters disappeared and Ao Qitian and Ao Jian followed closely into the sea. It's a pity that it's not one of the two devilish middle-aged men. Wang Xian stood at the bottom of the sea and looked at the body. He was slightly disappointed. However, there's no rush. With Ao Yaoyao around, the ambush and assassination can be almost 100% successful, even if the opponent is a middle-level immortal. Wang Xian waved his arm and the interspatial ring in the devilish young man's hand flew into his hand. There are really a lot of treasures. Wang Xian was slightly surprised. There were a total of 3 blood-red daggers. Including the 2 that were thrown out just now, there were a total of 5 daggers. All 5 of them were grade 13 daggers and were extremely sharp. After the collision with their spirit swords, a gap appeared on his 5 spirit swords. Apart from the 5 grade 13 daggers, there were also many metal materials. All of them were grade 13. There were very few elixirs and the like. There were only some healing spiritual herbs. In this world, it was obvious that there were more materials for spirit tools while various types of spiritual herbs were rarer. There were not even a single medicinal pill. There were no alchemists in this world. Let's go. Let's change positions. Wang Xian kept the corpse into his interspatial ring and said to Ao Jian and Ao Qitian. Yes. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian nodded. I'm afraid that they will know about the disappearance of the demonic young man very soon. I don't know when that time comes. Wang Xian mumbled as his eyes revealed a hint of coldness. The disappearance of an immortal god would definitely cause them to feel fear. After all, it was better to lose an immortal god than to lose 1,000 infant-stage warriors. They should be moving together next. It will be troublesome to assassinate them again. Let's kill another one before they discover us. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he looked around. Time is of the essence. The most obvious spot is on the left. There is an immortal god among the black birds in the sky. It's a pity that it's not the 2 demonic middle-aged men. However, it's too much of a waste of time to search for the 2 demonic middle-aged men. Moreover, accidents might happen. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly. He moved his body and flew towards the left. He stopped when he was 10 kilometers away from the immortal. The senses of an immortal were extremely terrifying. They could sense any unusual movements within a 10-kilometer radius unless they had concealed themselves beforehand. However, there were more than 10,000 blackbirds in the sky. The probability of being discovered was rather high. Set up an ambush at the place that she has searched. With the vigilance of the people in the Dingyu world, they will definitely choose the safest route to return after learning that the demonic young man was killed. The route that she took just now is definitely the safest route in her eyes. Set up an ambush when she returns. Although there is only a 50% chance, we can give it a try. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the area that the demonic woman passed by in the sky. He slowly came to the bottom of the sea and waited quietly. He waited for the woman to return. He wasn't sure if the woman would take this path, but he could only take a gamble. The Ding of You world wasn't very big. With the speed of an immortal god, once he was discovered, it would take less than a minute for all the immortal gods to rush over. Within a minute, Wang Xian was confident that he could assassinate one immortal god, but he would definitely be targeted by the other 4 immortal gods. Currently, with the strength of the 2 middle-aged men, even if it was 4 against 4, they did not have the slightest chance of winning. The 2 middle-aged men were gods. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian had to join forces to barely be able to fight against them. It was obvious that Ao Yao could not deal with 2 of them. In a 4-on-4 situation they might be killed. He could not take the risk. He would only take action when he was fully prepared. All of you be prepared in the surroundings. Once you enter our range, activate the formation. If you are a little far away from us, give up. Wang Xian reminded the surrounding strange demons. It's the Dragon King. The 4 strange demons holding the formation jade disc nodded. They came to the surface of the sea and waited quietly. It's too difficult to kill an immortal-level existence. Wang Xian sighed slightly. He stood in the middle of the sea and calmed his mind. Time passed slowly. The immortals from all directions were searching carefully. The range of their search was very wide and fast. With the puppets and the strange black birds, they could search an area of nearly 20 kilometers in one go. You can find any clues. 2 hours later, a voice suddenly came from the north. The voice echoed throughout the entire Yuding world. No. No. A cold and charming voice sounded. They frowned and scanned their surroundings. The Yuding world was not big, but it was not small either. Even if they were immortals and gods, it would be difficult for them to search every corner. Young demon, what about you? At this moment, at the northern end of the world of the Cauldron of You, Blood Arrow heard that there was no response from young demon. He frowned and shouted again. His voice sounded once again in the entire world of the Cauldron of You. The Snow Demon and the Bewitching Woman also raised their brows. Their eyes flickered as they stood on the spot. Young demon. After more than 10 seconds there was still no reply. This made Blood Arrow slightly stunned. He growled in a deep voice and shouted again. Not good, let's return to the island and gather. There was still no reply. The Snow Demon's expression changed as she shouted loudly. Go. The Bewitching Woman also felt her scalp go numb. The young demon had actually lost contact. The result was very likely that he had been killed. That old pervert, the young demon, is even stronger than me. The Bewitching Woman's eyes flickered as her eyes were filled with vigilance. Her figure moved and she returned to her original path at a terrifying speed. She didn't even bring along the strange black cries around her. Boom, boom. She waved her arm and the human skull staff appeared in her hand. The demonic aura around her body condensed into a powerful defense. With her vigilance, she didn't step into the area that she hadn't searched earlier. Instead, she returned to her original path. She's here. When Wang Xian heard the voice, he held his breath. When he saw the woman who was full of vigilance and had even set up a defense around him, a glint flashed across his eyes. She's really vigilant. However, it's also because of your vigilance that she took your life. Wang Xian looked at the woman who was flying over quietly and shouted softly, Do it. Bus. In an instant, the woman's figure appeared above them. At this instant, the concealment formation was activated. Wang Xian and Ao Jian and Ao Qitian attacked at the same time. Everything happened in an instant. The terrifying attacks of the 3 of them caused the expression of the woman in the sky to change drastically. Oh no, they are lying in wait for me. Hurry over. Chapter 698. Chapter 698. Oh no, they are lying in wait for me. Hurry over. The Bewitching Woman let out a sharp voice and shouted angrily. It's too late. Wang Xian revealed a cold expression. The attacks of the 3 of them arrived in an instant. You guys. The Bewitching Woman felt that her voice was blocked by a layer of energy. Her expression was extremely ferocious. She waved her arm and the human skull staff in her hand was swung forward. Evil ghosts devour gods. Hiss. Hiss. One by one, the evil-looking human skull staff emitted ferocious ghost shadows. The terrifying energy attacked Wang Xian and the rest. Boom. Wang Xian's spiritual sword dispersed the ghost shadows formed by the demonic aura. The ocean-pacifying divine needle and Ao Qitian's sword attacked the woman. Ah! A ferocious look appeared on the evil-looking woman's face. She resisted the attacks of Ao Jian and Ao Qitian. She spat out blood instantly and fled into the distance. Can you escape? Wang Xian's expression did not change. 5 spiritual swords charged towards the demonic woman in an instant. Ao Jian waved his arm and golden silent longswords appeared in front of the demonic woman. Boom! Ao Qitian held a terrifying ocean-pacifying needle that was 200 meters in size and smashed it towards the demonic woman. The attacks caused the demonic woman's expression to change drastically. Her eyes revealed a look of panic. Young demon was killed by you guys. She let out a shrill scream. The human skull staff in her hand spun rapidly around him. The demonic aura on her body formed numerous devil gates to defend herself. The longer she stayed here, the lower her chances of survival would be. Boom! The demonic woman forcefully withstood Wang Xian and Ao Jian's attack. Under Ao Qitian's attack, her entire arm was deformed. Her entire body was extremely miserable. However, the bewitching lady's eyes were filled with intense excitement. She rushed out of the formation and escaped. Save! She raised her head. Her eyes were filled with madness as she opened her mouth to cry out for help. At this moment, despair appeared on her face. No wonder, no wonder. The bewitching lady widened her eyes and stared at the strange demon beside her. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. Bang! The bewitching lady fell toward the bottom of the sea. Wang Xian waved his arm and made her fall onto the surface of the sea. Then he kept her interspatial ring. Wang Xian stood on the surface of the sea with a smile on his face. There are already 2 of them. I'm afraid they are already panicking. Dragon King, it might be a little difficult to assassinate them next. Ao Jian said with a slightly solemn tone. There's no rush. We'll wait here. I don't believe that they will never act alone. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Even if they really gather together, we'll wait until Yuding appears and Prime Minister Gui is added. If there are sufficient resources, another immortal god will appear in the Dragon Palace and we can attack them directly. Snow Demon and Blood Arrow were the leaders of the 2 immortal sections. The other immortal gods were weaker than them. Furthermore, according to the information he obtained, in the 10 years when tens of millions of people were raising Gu, 2 old men were the ones who advanced to become immortal gods. Clearly those 2 old men were only inferior immortals. If there were 6 immortal gods, Wang Xian could attack them directly and kill them directly. Let's play with them slowly. Wang Xian said with a cold gaze. So what if they were immortals? Even if they were high and mighty and controlled the lives of tens of millions of people. However, if they provoked him, they would have to pay a heavy price and pay with their lives. Go to the island and find a place to hide. Now they definitely won't dare to search anymore. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. He moved his body and flew toward an island. At this moment, everyone was standing at the location of the 6 islands. Above one of the islands, the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow were standing in the air. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. Huff, huff. At this moment, the silhouettes of 2 old men appeared. Their faces were filled with shock. Something happened to young demon? It's possible. Snow Demon's face was gloomy. His entire body was shrouded in demonic chi. Only his blood-red eyes were filled with a brutal expression. If it were 2 lower-level immortal gods, it would be impossible to kill young demon. Unless there are 3 of them. Furthermore, we didn't sense any energy from the fight. They might have used a method to block us. An old man said with a gloomy face and flickering eyes. They only dared to launch a sneak attack. They must be weaker than us. The 5 of us will search together and search from the weakest part of the array to the inside. As long as they are still here, we will definitely be able to find them. Blood Arrow held a blood-red demonic longbow in his hand. Even if we have to turn the world of the Cauldron of You upside down, we must kill them all. The 2 elders fell silent for a moment. The killing intent in the Snow Demon's body seemed to be corporeal, making people feel extremely cold. Why isn't Hong Ying here yet? Blood Arrow suddenly widened his eyes and looked in the direction where the demonic woman was searching. The expressions of the few people changed drastically as they fixed their gazes on her. A trace of fear flashed through their eyes. Hong Ying. An elder shouted in a deep voice. His voice resounded throughout the entire world of the Cauldron of You. No one responded. There was no sound. Hoo-hoo. The two elders' breathing was heavy. They were originally the weakest of the six. Now that Hong Ying and the young demon, who were stronger than them, had disappeared, it was obvious what would happen to them if they were the ones who were attacked. A faint sense of panic surged into their hearts. The two elders exchanged a glance and looked at Snow Demon and Blood Arrow. What should we do now? What should we do? Snow Demon and Blood Arrow trembled slightly. Young Demon was dead, and Hong Ying had been killed without anyone knowing. Should they search for the unknown powerful enemy? What if the enemy was ambushing them? The two of them did not dare to take the risk, but if they did not find the enemy, wouldn't they have to live in fear in the future? As immortals and gods, as rulers who controlled a small world, they had never encountered such a thing. Assassination. Thinking about how they were best at assassination, they felt that it was a great irony. Don't let me know who you are, don't let me know where you are. The Snow Demon clenched its arms tightly, and its snow-white arms emitted crisp sounds. The enemy is in the dark while I am in the light. Let's go back and think of a way to deal with them for the time being. Blood Arrow slightly narrowed his eyes and said to them. The two old men nodded in agreement. At this time, forget about continuing to search, it was already good enough that they were not assassinated. A special light flashed in the eyes of the two old men as they flew toward their island. The Snow Demon and the Blood Arrow turned into a demonic shadow and disappeared. Below, the people on the island, the disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao, watched this scene in shock. Their immortal gods had fallen and there were two of them. Chapter 699. Chapter 699. Two immortal gods have fallen. Now, even Lord Snow Demon and the others have returned to the island in fear. The enemy is simply too terrifying. In just half a day, two immortal gods have fallen. In addition to the elite disciples of our two great immortal sects, the sky of Yuding is about to change. At most, our world will appear in a month. When that time comes, I'm afraid. What kind of terrifying existences are our enemies? Will they come and slaughter us? On the island, the people from Yuding world were conversing with a solemn expression. Not far away, Wang Xian was listening to their conversation with a smile on his face. He walked into a restaurant and ordered some food on the second floor. The food in the restaurant was placed on the table slowly. The entire island was in a state of panic. The death of two immortal gods was much more shocking than the 1,000 strongest experts in Yuding world in the morning. The immortal gods were the masters of this world. Now two of them had been killed in just half a day. They were afraid that if the other party attacked them, they could only wait for death. Get the strange demon to monitor the two islands at all times. Once they come out, report immediately. Wang Xian drank his wine and spoke to Ao Yao, who was invisible. It's the Dragon King. A voice came from the void. According to the time, the Ding of You will appear in about 10 days. Wang Xian had a contemplative look on his face. With the corpses of two immortals and a large batch of spiritual herbs in the interspatial ring, we should be able to nurture an immortal god. As long as the Ding of You appears, we will attack. Wang Xian's eyes were sparkling as he drank the wine in his cup gently. At night, the 6 islands in the world of the Ding of You were brightly lit. It was not as quiet as a few days ago. Some people gathered together in panic. Wang Xian and the rest stayed in a remote courtyard. Herbs were placed around them. There were more than 50 types of grade 6 spiritual herbs which could be used to refine one type of elixir. Wang Xian refined all of them into elixirs. The rest of the grade 4 and grade 5 spiritual herbs were also refined into elixirs. Perhaps the most dangerous place was the safest place. Wang Xian stayed on the island for 2 to 3 days without anyone noticing. Among them, there was also the reason why the strongest person on the island was an expert at the elixir realm. The Snow Demon Blood Arrow and the other 2 old immortals had not come out ever since they entered his island. Wang Xian was not in a hurry. He took out the myriad refining table and began to forge spirit tools. Currently, he had the most materials in his hands. Level 12 spirit tools were made in batches. Boom, boom. Finally, 15 days later, Wang Xian felt the entire world shake. Sounds of exclamations could be heard from his surroundings. He moved and arrived outside. The world has appeared. The Cauldron of You in our world has disappeared. Our world is now connected to the real world. The sky has changed. What action will we take next? There was no notice from the great immortal. Ever since he entered the island half a month ago, he has not come out. Everyone in the Dingyu world felt the changes in the world. They were all discussing in shock. Aojian, go and call Prime Minister Gui over. Bring the other 2 immortal god corpses back to the dragon pool and let the boss of the 9-headed Hui absorb them before bringing them back. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he said to Aojian, "It's the Dragon King." Aojian nodded his head. His body moved and he flew towards the dragon palace at a terrifying speed. Now that the world of the Yu Cauldron had appeared, the disappearance of the array formation meant that from today onwards, the world of the Yu Cauldron would also disappear. He could arrive at the dragon palace directly from here. The Yu Cauldron has appeared. Why isn't it coming out? Wang Xian looked at the island where the 4 immortals were located. However, at this moment, on 2 islands with a 100-meter mountain peak. On one of the islands, the Snow Demon, Blood Arrow, and 2 elders were sitting in a large hall. There were only the 4 of them in the entire hall. It was extremely spacious. The 4 of them sat there gloomily. The 2 elders looked at the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow. Now that Yu Ding has appeared, are we not going out? It's been half a month. The assassins might have already left. Close the island. The Snow Demon sat there without any expression on his face. He raised his head and looked at the 2 old men. Now that we've appeared, we don't have the capital to fight for hegemony in the martial world. We'll close the island for 10 years and use 10 years to create a group of powerful subordinates. There's no point in Yu Ding appearing. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao don't have the strength to fight against the 9 cauldrons. We'll just close the island for 10 years and nurture another group of experts. Blood Arrow's blood-red eyes also had a trace of madness. The 2 old men's pupils shrunk when they heard their words, their bodies turning numb. In the past 10 years of nurturing Jiu, although they had broken through to the immortal god realm, their experiences during those 10 years still made them feel terrified when they recalled it. The bloodshed and slaughter were happening every day. Right now there are only 2 million people. Even after 10 years we cannot nurture the experts of the past. The 2 old men said in a deep voice. The star guiding disc can be opened for the last time. With the star guiding disc, in addition to 10 years, it's enough. The corner of the Snow Demon's mouth revealed a cold expression. Who knows, with the star guiding disc, we might be able to nurture 1 or 2 immortals. Star guiding disc. The 2 old men's hearts trembled slightly. They nodded heavily and their eyes flashed with fervor. The star guiding disc was a supreme treasure that the Jade Hand Immortal Sect, Corpse Chief Dao, and the upper 9 immortal sects had obtained together. It was also because of this treasure that the 3 of them were able to become immortal sections. It was also because of this treasure that the Jade Hand Immortal Sect's Corpse Chief Dao destroyed the upper 9 immortal sections. The opening of the star guiding disc could set up a starry sky. Cultivating under this starry sky would allow one to cultivate at a speed more than 10 times that of the Yu Cauldron. In the past, the star guiding disc would only be used to nurture disciples when the immortal sect was in trouble. When the time comes, I'm afraid that the enemies hidden in the darkness will make a move to destroy it. An old man said with a slightly grave expression. What I want is for them to make a move to destroy it. A ferocious expression appeared on the Snow Demon's face. They haven't dared to show themselves for a long time. It must be because their strength is inferior to ours. Otherwise they would have already attacked us. With the star guiding disc, it's fine if they don't show themselves. But if they do, it's exactly what I want. When the time comes, even if they are heavily injured, I will still kill them. The star attraction disc is not only to train their subordinates but also to lure them out. Such a powerful true treasure, they will not give up. A smile appeared on Blood Arrow's face. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Everything was under their control. Then I will announce it. If they are still here, they will definitely be tempted. We just need to wait quietly. The eyes of the 2 old men flashed with a glint. The Star Usher was also a very powerful true treasure to them. Chapter 700. Chapter 700. Have you heard? The immortal god has announced that our Yu Ding world will temporarily close the island and not come out. His Excellency will take out the Star Guide Disc and let us cultivate. The Star Guide Disc is a cultivation treasure. Really? He really wants us to cultivate under the star guide disc? It's said that the star guide disc is a cultivation treasure. It can form its own starry sky. Cultivating under this starry sky is more than 10 times that of the outside world. It seems that the star guide disc can only be opened for the last time. After this, the star guide disc will disappear. With the star guiding disc, we will be able to reach the peak of the Dan stage in a year's time at most. We might even be able to reach the infant stage. This time there are too many experts in the Yuding world who have died. The immortal has no choice but to take out his trump card. This is a huge opportunity for us. Wang Xian sat in a restaurant and listened to the excited conversations of the people around him. He knocked on the table gently. Star induction plate, what is this? A cultivation treasure? Wang Xian's eyes flickered. Is this a bait or? Wang Xian revealed a contemplative look on his face. However, he smiled immediately after. Regardless of whether he was a bait or not, he would be able to break the 10,000 arts by then. Is it here? At this moment, Wang Xian sensed a familiar aura. His body moved and he disappeared from the restaurant. Dragon King. When he arrived at the courtyard, Wang Xian saw Prime Minister Gue and Ao Qi. They greeted him respectfully. Yes. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them. How is the situation in the Dragon Palace? Dragon King, everything is progressing in an orderly manner. The spiritual energy waterfall has allowed many of the aquatic species in the Dragon Palace to step onto the path of cultivation. In addition, 6 more spiritual energy waterfalls have appeared in the Wuxia region. I have already placed your blood essence into the dragon vein. Miss Tang Yinshan has awakened. She has become the Princess Dolphin in name. The dolphins have all awakened their wisdom under the spiritual energy waterfalls. Furthermore, their potential is very strong. In the end, the eldest princess and the Dragon Queen hope that you can return as soon as possible. Prime Minister Jiui reported to Wang Xian. Why is Ao Qi here? Wang Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. He looked at the leader of the strange prawns and asked with some doubt. Dragon King, the 9-headed Hui has experienced the baptism of the spiritual energy waterfall and is currently making a breakthrough. According to them, they will be able to make a breakthrough in 3 years at most, or at least 2 years. Prime Minister Jiui explained, that's why I allowed Ao Qi to absorb the energy of the 2 immortals in the dragon pond. Sure. Wang Xian nodded. Ao Yao, get someone to check if the star steering wheel is a trap or if it's real. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded and disappeared. He's about to make a breakthrough. Wang Xian looked at Ao Qi and smiled as he felt the violent lightning energy in his body. Yes, Dragon King. There's still a little bit left. The leader of the 3-meter-long strange prawns had a respectful expression on his face. Let me help you. Wang Xian waved his arm and a surge of dense dragon energy entered Ao Qi's body directly. Crack, crack. In an instant, a terrifying lightning energy was transmitted from Ao Qi's body. Prime Minister Gue waved his arm and the earth-like energy covered the surroundings. Lightning kept brewing in Ao Qi's body. Especially where his 2 huge arms were, dazzling lightning was flowing on his arms. His 2 arms started to undergo huge changes. One of them became like a spear while the other looked like a hammer, an extremely sturdy hammer fist. Crack, crack. His tail slowly split apart from the black shrimp line, forming 2 strange feet. This foot also looked like a hammer. The shell on his body slowly covered his chest, and the shell on his back turned into something that looked like wings. But it looked more like a windbreaker. Ao Qi's head was pointed, and his eyes were flashing with lightning. It was very strange, but his appearance was very sharp. He had an inexplicable sense of dominance. Thank you, Dragon King. Ao Qi stood up slowly. His body was about 2 meters tall. Following that, he immediately knelt on the ground and placed his hammer-like right hand on the ground. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. Not bad, not bad. Ao Qi's body was very domineering. His right hand was a hammer, his left hand was a spear, and his feet were like hammers. Behind him was a lightning shell that looked like a windbreaker. From his appearance, one could tell that Ao Qi's strength was not weak. At least, he was much stronger than the Thunder God in the movie. Wang Xian smiled. 10 minutes later, Ao Yao's figure appeared beside him. Dragon King, We have already investigated the matter regarding the star-guiding disc. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Path do indeed have such a precious treasure like the star-guiding disc. This afternoon, the four immortals will open the star-guiding disc around their island and open up a space for everyone in Jianghu to cultivate. Ao Yao reported. This star-guiding disc can allow more than 2 million people to cultivate in it at the same time. Wang Xian revealed a look of surprise. It is said that the star-guiding disc has a radius of 5 kilometers. There are less than 2 million people in it. However, it can last for a year. Ao Yao said. Is there really such a precious treasure? In a year's time, the spiritual energy contained in it is more than 10 times that of the outside world. It is only slightly inferior to the spiritual energy waterfall. However, the duration of the spiritual energy waterfall cannot be compared to it. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he swept his gaze across the 5 underlings beside him. Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, Prime Minister Gui, Ao Yao, and Ao Qi were the underlings of the 5 immortals. Including him, the 4 immortals could fight. Regardless of whether this is a conspiracy or not, all of you must die. Wang Xian looked at the island where they lived, and his face revealed a cold glow. 3 hours passed very quickly. On the 6 islands, everyone from the 2 immortal sects was rushing towards the Immortals Island excitedly. Some of them took ships while others flew directly. There were more than 2 million people rushing over. Wang Xian and the rest walked at the back. Their eyes were sparkling as they looked ahead. I heard that only 100,000 people can cultivate together at a time. I wonder how the Immortal will arrange it. Even if I have to cultivate in there for a month, I feel like I can break through. 2 disciples of the Immortal sect came from the front with excited expressions. The Immortal God is coming out. The Immortal God is coming out. Just as they approached, they heard exclamations coming from the front. 4 tall figures stood in the void. 2 demonic middle-aged men were emitting terrifying demonic chi. The other 2 old men seemed to contain a terrifying ocean. The might of an immortal god spread out in all directions, causing everyone's faces to reveal reverence. 1 million people stood there motionlessly, looking up at their gods. Right at this moment in the sky, the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow each took out a blue jade plate that was half a month long. Ka. Under everyone's gaze, the 2 blue crescent jade plates fused together. Chapter 701. Chapter 701. Boom. A crisp sound rang out. Not a single one of the 2 million people in the surroundings dared to speak, even their breathing was very weak. Everyone stared at the 2 blue jade plates in the hands of the immortal god. The moment the 2 crescent jade plates closed, a ray of blue light was directly emitted from within. The light expanded slowly and gradually surrounded an area of 5 kilometers. Gradually, a white aura appeared in this space. This is spiritual energy? What a rich spiritual energy. This star-guiding plate is real. A hint of heat flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he stared at the space of 5 kilometers. Today we will open the star-guiding plate and help the disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao to cultivate. All the disciples cultivate well. Blood Arrow slowly took a step forward. As he stood in the air, he swept his gaze across the surroundings and said while looking down. Thank you, Lord Immortal God, thank you for your grace. The disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao stared at the 4 immortal gods in the sky with burning eyes. They immediately knelt on the surface of the sea and on the ship and called out respectfully. More than 2 million people gathered together and knelt down at the same time. What kind of scene was this? It was extremely shocking. This was the dignity of an immortal god. A satisfied expression appeared on the faces of the 4 immortal gods, but soon after, their eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. Snow Demon, Blood Arrow, and the 2 elders stared at the outermost position. There, 6 figures stood there. They did not kneel down. Instead, they raised their heads and stared at them with cold smiles. You finally appeared? Damn you guys. Blood Arrow's eyes were filled with a crazed killing intent. With a move of his arm, a blood-red longbow appeared in his hand. It was you who killed Young Demon and Hong Ying. It was you who killed the members of my immortal sect. The blood-red light in the Snow Demon's eyes flickered crazily. The violent killing intent instantly filled the entire sky with demonic aura. Beside them, 2 old men were holding blue magic staffs in their hands. Their eyes were flickering as they stared at Wang Xian and the rest. The sudden murderous aura and terrifying power shocked the 2 million people who were kneeling down. Their bodies were instantly covered in cold sweat and their faces were filled with terror. Snow Demon, Blood Arrow, do you still remember us? Wang Xian stared at the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow in the sky with a smile on his face. Then he moved his body. Roar! Wang Xian's body instantly transformed into a terrifying divine dragon that was 13 meters long. With a roar, his voice reverberated within a radius of tens of kilometers. A pair of majestic eyes stared at them. Roar! Following that, Ao Qitian, who was beside him, also roared loudly. His body instantly transformed into about 8 meters. His entire body emitted a terrifying demonic aura as he stood beside Wang Xian. We are here for revenge. Prime Minister Gui's eyes revealed a cold expression. His body moved slightly and a turtle shell appeared in his hand. He stared at them with a murderous aura. Clang! The sound of a sharp sword was heard. A dazzling golden glow instantly transformed the entire world into a golden peak world. A terrifying 10-meter-long sword appeared beside him. Crack! Crack! The terrifying power did not stop. The sound of thunder and lightning instantly exploded throughout the world. A terrifying bolt of lightning struck a strange 2-meter-tall creature in the sky. You dare to hurt our Dragon King? Die! Die! Ao Yao did not hide his body. His white, bright body stood in the void, flickering as if he could disappear at any time. Although his power was the smallest, it made everyone's hair stand on end, giving people a fatal feeling. The majestic divine dragon that gave off endless majesty. The chaotic demonic monkey that gave off monstrous demonic chi. The old man with the unfathomable turtle shell that could not be ignored. A golden sharp sword that seemed to be able to pierce through the void. A creature that controlled heavenly lightning and had terrifying lightning on its body. There was also a white demon that seemed to be able to escape into space at any time. 6 terrifying auras were staring at him coldly. They were filled with killing intent. It's you, Divine Dragon. How is this possible? Are you still alive? When the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow saw the 6 immortals that were emitting terrifying auras, their expressions changed drastically. They stared at Wang Xian intently. Are you surprised? I told you that I will come for revenge. I will kill my way into your world. Wang Xian's gaze was cold as he swayed his majestic body. All of you will die today. When he finished speaking, Ao Jian, Prime Minister Gui, and the rest flew to the surroundings in an instant and surrounded him. 6 immortals, 6 immortals. The Snow Demon and the Blood Arrow growled, 6 immortals want to kill us? Dream on. They had never expected that the enemy had 6 immortals. There were 6 of them. In particular, none of them were human. Each of them was exuding a wild and violent aura. Especially the divine dragon in the middle. It was even more powerful than when they had launched a sneak attack not long ago. They had originally wanted to use the star attraction disc to lure them out and then kill them. In the end, just as they had hoped, the person was drawn out. However, it was actually the 6 damn immortal gods. In a battle, it was not certain who would win or lose. Hiss. Beside them, the 2 old men also sucked in a breath of cold air. Their gazes swept over the 6 strange-looking immortal gods with terrifying auras. Their eyes were filled with fear. The 2 of them exchanged a glance. An inexplicable luster flashed in their eyes. We are enough to kill all of you. Wang Xian's eyes flashed with a cold expression as he slowly raised his dragon claw. Prime Minister Gui held the turtle shell in his hand tightly while Ao Yao disappeared into the void. Ao Qitian's sea-pacifying divine needle was held in his hand as it slowly grew longer. The crackling sound of thunder could be heard. Thunder rumbled in the sky from time to time. Kill. Kill the 2 immortal gods of my Yuding world. All the experts, even if you are seriously injured, I will kill all of you today. The Snow Demon's eyes were blood-red as it raised its head and roared. Its voice spread across hundreds of kilometers. Kill. I will make your corpses into my slaves and make you suffer for eternity. The Blood Arrow instantly drew the blood-red longbow. The battle between the 10 immortals was about to start. Wait, Sir Dragon God. At this moment, the voices of the 2 old men were heard. Wang Xian was slightly stunned as he stared at the 2 old men. The Snow Demon and the Blood Arrow stared at the 2 old men. The expressions of the 2 old men didn't change at all. They cupped their hands at Wang Xian and said, Sir Dragon God, we don't have any enmity with you. We don't want to participate in this. Wang Xian was completely stunned when he heard the old man's words. Don't want to get involved? Are you trying to stay out of this? Wind demon, what are you guys talking about? The snow demon glared at the two old men with her blood-red eyes and roared furiously. Sect leader of the snow demon sect and sect leader of the blood arrow sect, you guys are the ones who provoked us. Young demon and Honging died because of you. We don't want to be your scapegoats. The two elders' faces were cold as they looked at Wang Xian. There was a hint of nervousness in their eyes as they waited for his reply. All right, you guys leave this place. Wang Xian laughed and stared at the snow demon and the blood arrow with a mocking expression. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.